Now, today, we're going to see what if Harry Potter was neglected? Join Patreon for early access of super op stories, also adult and steamy Harry Potter stories too. Please subscribe this channel because definitely I will try my best to provide a valuable content for you all. Also check the description to support the original author for this beautiful creation. What do you mean he's gone? Lily Evans bellowed after Sirius, Remus, and James searched the house for Harry James Potter, brother of the boy who lived, Tyler Clayton Potter. How the hell did an 8-year-old boy escape from those wards? Lily screamed again, pulling on her hair in frustration. Lily dear, please. Please calm down, we'll find him, James said as he led Lily over to the couch and then gave her a glass of liquor. While all of this was going on, Tyler, who was playing with his latest toy, a mini flying broomstick, began to cry. It had taken him long enough to figure out he wasn't the center of attention anymore. Lily dropped her glass on the floor, where it shattered on impact, spilling amber liquid all over the floor. She rushed over to her son and scooped him up off the floor. Tyler, baby, where does it hurt? Tell mommy where it hurts so she can make it all better. Lily crooned, trying to quiet the rather overweight boy she was struggling to hold in her arms. Right here. Tyler whined. I hurt my knee. It's all right, mommy's here. She'll make everything all right. Lily lugged her son off into the other room after shooting the 3 men standing in the den a look that said, find him or else. Sirius audibly gulped at her glare and then turned to James and Remus. Where should we start first? James ran a hand through his slightly graying Ravenlock's hair and then said quietly, depends, was he kidnapped or did the little brat run away? Remus, who didn't realize what James called Harry in that sentence, replied, he might have run away, but I could never imagine why a sweet boy like Harry would do such a thing. James snorted at that. That ungrateful freak. Always trying to show up my little Tyler. He's a show-off and a liar. He would run away just to get attention. I know it, Mooney. Remus's mouth was hanging open. What did you say? Remus sputtered. He's your son, your flesh and blood. And you call him those things, James, this is too much. I see now how I ignored the signs. I should have realized what you have been doing to that poor boy. You animal. He's your personal whipping boy, isn't he? That's all he is to you, right? Now I know why he ran away. He deserves the right to live. He's a child, not some sort of possession. What, Mooney, did you just say that I'm a bad father? I treated that boy like he deserved. He was always a liar and a thief. He blamed Tyler, a hero, for everything. He is a rotten egg. He'll become evil. He's jealous of Tyler and all the special attention he receives. Well, you know what? I'm finished with that little shit anyways. James said, his eyes blazing. When I find him, I'll give him the worst beating of his life. He'll beg for mercy. You'll never lay a hand on him again, Potter. This friendship is over. I don't know about you, Siri, but I'm sickened by this cruelty. Harry will be removed from your care after I report you to the ministry. Remus growled. James laughed. Who will they believe? James Potter, father of the boy who lived, savior of the wizarding world, or a werewolf, an abomination like you, Lupin? I always knew you were evil, just like the freak. Sirius cried out in outrage. What the fuck did you just say, Potter? A dog-like growl erupted from Sirius's throat as he pounced on his ex-friend, hitting whatever part of James he came in contact with. When Lily heard the commotion, after putting her precious angel upstairs, she used a spell to separate the 2 men. Sirius. What has gotten into you? Ease anding up, or take freak, bot of Yemri, James said, holding a hand to his nose which was clearly broken, streaming blood down his face and cloths. You let this bastard do that to your son? I'm ashamed of you, Lily. Remus said, shaking his head. That boy deserved everything he got. You'll see, someday you'll regret this. Lily was red with anger. Leave my house now. Gladly. Both of the men yelled in unison and stormed out the front door, Sirius knocking over a vase on the way out. Meanwhile, so kid, what's your name? The man asked. Harry, sir. Hello, Harry, I'm Gavin, the answer to your problems. Bum bum bum. Who is the mysterious Gavin? Well, I know, and you don't so na bobo. Hey, I need your help with something. Yes, I mean you sitting at the computer. I need you to vote. You want you to vote. Here it is. Which name do you like for Harry better? Rama. 8-year-old Harry Potter threw another punch at the older girl. Trying to break through her defenses, she quickly countered with a block. A swift kick was also blocked, barely. Harry knew she was weakening. He faked an uppercut, and when the girl moved to block it, he caught her unaware and swept her legs out from underneath her with a fluid movement. Harry lightly placed his small foot on the girl's throat as she lay stomach up on the floor. Yield, Harry questioned, breathing heavily. I yield, the girl said reluctantly, and then took the hand offered to her from Harry and was pulled to her feet. The girl, whose platinum hair, thrown back into a ponytail, was soaked with sweat. Her sapphire eyes danced as she knocked the small boy down to the floor, which was covered in mats, and began tickling him. The boy's gleeful shrieks rang out over the training room as the girl, Jenna, also known as Cried, got her revenge for being beat in a training spar by an 8-year-old. Harry, after accepting Gavin's offer of answering his problems, was taken to Eden, also known as Gavin's house somewhere in the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. Flashback. Harry, welcome to Eden, Gavin said as they walked through a large gate which led up to a lavish mansion. The gardens surrounding it were beautiful, fanning out for what seemed forever to the youth. When the tour reached the meadow, a girl was riding a horse at a gallop, her long sable hair streaming behind her. She wore blue jeans and a pink t-shirt. When she got closer, he saw that the t-shirt also matched her eyes and the streaks in her hair, which surprised him and still amused him even to this day, to no end. Her name was Kaylee, affectionately called Pink, Rose, and Princess of all things pink. She was also known as Freya. Her steed was Rose, an albino mare with, who would have guessed, pink eyes. Kaylee was protective of Harry as he was of her. They were close in age, so it was kind of a brother-sister relationship after a while. Later, Harry met the rest of the inhabitants of Eden. That consisted of altogether 3 girls, 3 guys, Gavin, his wife, Carla, and now Harry. The girls were Kaylee, Jenna, and Mariah. Mariah had short ice blue hair and matching eyes. She was short, just about as tall as Harry at the time, but she was all muscle, unlike Harry, who was all skin and bones. The boys consisted of Glenn, who had fair hair and a complexion to match it. His eyes, though, were almost black and twinkled almost constantly. His sense of humor never failed to make you laugh. Ian was another. His amber hair always flopped around, causing him to have to flip it back almost constantly out of his eyes or tie it back. His eyes almost matched his hair, but they were flecked with crimson. Finally, there was Noah, the intelligent one. His black hair was short and spiked up and tipped with silver. The girls always said he looked like he had stuck his finger in a light socket. Carla was blonde, perky, and blue-eyed. Her long, massive curls were all over the place. Her husband, Gavin, though had chestnut hair which was almost down to his shoulders. He always had it tied back in a ponytail. His steel gray eyes always softened whenever he looked at his surrogate kids, but when angered, hardened up to cold steel. His personality was unlike his wife. He was tough and strict. He was playful, though, in his own ways, and was quite the jokester. End flashback. Harry began his training with Gavin as his teacher. After a while, he began to put on some muscle, though unlike the other boys, refused to take his shirt off while training. Only Gavin and Carla knew about the large scar on Harry's back. Flashback. It had happened when Tyler had broken into the cabinet before dinner and ate all the chocolate. He had blamed it on Harry. When confronted by James, he denied the claims, saying Tyler was lying. James pushed him down the stairs where he broke his left arm and badly cut his back. He was left to lie in pain on the floor until after dinner, when Lily insisted James take Harry to Hogwarts Infirmary to get treated since, being a Potter, made him a target, and an easy way to get to Tyler if brought to St. Murgo's. Also at St. Murgo's, they would ask about the bruises on Harry's body. Those were questions the Potters didn't need. James reluctantly fled Harry to Hogwarts, but not after threatening him and giving him a story to tell to the headmaster and Madame Pomfrey. Once there, James played the part of a concerned father. Harry told his story and was allowed to go home the next day. As Harry's punishment, he had to scrub all the floors in the house, even though Pomfrey gave explicit instructions for him to remain lying on his stomach in bed and have a potion put on the cut every 2 hours. He was to receive a pain potion every 4 hours as well. Needless to say, he didn't. The Potters took Tyler out to go shopping. By the time they got back, Harry had finished the floors and was almost passed out on the floor in the dining hall. Harry's back never properly healed, leaving it badly scared. The scar on his back, thankfully, was noticed more than the scar on his forehead. Only Gavin, Carla, and the kids knew the truth about Harry, that he was the real boy who lived. End flashback. Harry sighed and climbed the stairs to his room in the East Wing, where all the boys' rooms were located. The girls were located in the East Wing, and the master bedroom and living quarters were located on the second floor, as well as the library and study. The training rooms were on the third floor, and the equipment rooms were too, as well as the armory. On the first floor were the dining hall, indoor pool, kitchens, and infirmary. Harry's room was decorated in mostly emerald green, black, and white. He had a breathtaking view of the mountains which stretched as far as the eye could see. It took Harry a few weeks to open up, and enough reminding from Gavin and Carla not to call them Sir and Ma'am. But after that, they found out Harry had a heart of a lion, cunning of a fox, and the agility of a feline. His training was based around his swiftness on his feet and his quick thinking. His planning skills and spur-of-the-moment ideas were always welcome. All in all, he was fitting in well with the Odd family. He finally felt relatively normal, especially compared to some of the other kids. Just after Harry changed out of his sweatsuit and changed into blue jeans and a red t-shirt, there was a knock on the door. "Who is it?" Harry questioned as he went to open the door. The man on the moon, kiddo, Gavin joked. He was in a rare good mood, meaning someone was recently pranked. "Hey, Gavin, what's up?" Harry chirped, looking up at the older man. "It's time for you to begin some magic training. By the time the wizarding world realizes their mistake, you'll be the best wizard there is, even better than me." Gavin led Harry down to the basement where the dueling rooms, potion rooms, and classrooms were located. "Today we're going to learn to find your magical center. Muggles do this, but they only find their soul center. But magical people, even squibs, have both." Gavin sat down on a cushion that was laid out on the floor in a classroom. His legs were crossed and folded in an Indian-style position. He motioned for Harry to copy him. "Now, close your eyes." Harry closed his eyes. "Good. Next, search for your soul guide. It should appear in a moment." Gavin shut his eyes, and his soul guide came to him in the form of a hawk. After a moment, Harry spoke up. "I don't understand. It's something we aren't meant to understand. It's just something we know, an instinct. Your soul is where you feel strength, where you feel comfort, where you feel whole." Gavin opened his eyes and looked at the boy in front of him. It was as if a light bulb just went on. "He's a panther, a black panther. His name is..." "He's a panther, a black panther. His name is..." "Raiden." Harry said. "He's my guide. He says there are many things about myself I don't know. He says I'm strong in mind and will be a great warrior." Gavin smiled openly. Harry had just completed one of the hardest tasks by finding his spirit guide. "Welcome to Eden, Raiden." "Huh?" Harry opened his eyes and looked at Gavin in confusion. "Didn't you wonder why Jenna is called Cried, Kaylee, Freya, Mariah, Scotty, Glenn, Loki, Ian, Anubis, Noah, Vishnu, Carla, Boded, and myself, Aiden? Those are our spirit guides' names. My guide is a hawk. Everyone's is different." "Gavin, may I be called Raiden all the time, please?" Harry pleaded. "Why, little one?" Gavin asked, wondering why he would want to use his battle name all the time. "I don't want the name the Potters gave me. It reminds me of them. I hate it so much, please." Harry's eyes welled up with unshed tears at the thought of his ex-family. "Sure, kiddo, I understand now. I'll tell everyone to call you Raiden. It's a very nice name, by the way. It means God of Thunder in Japanese. You may be an elemental like Mariah. She's an ice elemental." Gavin stood and offered Raiden a hand up, which he accepted. "One more thing, Raiden. Don't hate the Potters. Pity them, for they do not understand what is right and wrong, and for that they will suffer." "Yes, Gavin, it's hard to do that, but I'll try my hardest," Raiden said as they walked back upstairs. "I know you, a little one. Now run along and have some fun. I bet you Kaylee will be looking for her best friend to go horseback riding today." Raiden smiled and ran off to find his surrogate sister, while Gavin sighed, watching his retreating figure. When the time comes, Raiden will be ready, Gavin promised himself in his head. By the time Raiden was 10 years old, He had mastered up to fifth-year material and was trained in the martial arts, swordplay, street fighting, use of Muggle weapons such as guns. He was also skilled in using daggers. Raiden loved his new home, he loved his family, and he loved his new life. He finally had learned to pity instead of hate. He understood more than a 10-year-old should about life, death, and everything in between. He wasn't a child anymore. When Raiden turned 12, he was able to beat Gavin in a martial arts spar, proving himself as a true warrior. The night of his birthday, he received a tattoo, done by Gavin himself, of a black panther with emerald eyes. Raiden enjoyed talking to his spirit guide that he affectionately called Rai, so not to get confused. He spent hours a day training and readying himself for his destiny. Gavin was proud of his son. Gavin was the father Raiden never had, Carla the mother, and the rest of the teens his brothers and sisters. At 13, Raiden learned to control his element of lightning, just as Gavin predicted. Raiden was dangerous, as was everyone else at Eden, but Raiden trained till the point of exhaustion to prove to himself, and to show the Potters when the time came, he wasn't a worthless freak, but a warrior. This made him deadly. At 15, the time finally came. Voldemort was back in full control. Back to his killing sprees, back to making hell on Earth. With Gavin's sources, they heard of an attack on Hogwarts, and as much as Gavin wanted to keep Raiden here, to keep him safe, he couldn't. Raiden was ready for war. Everyone donned their battle robes, cried in sapphire, Freya in pink, Scotty in ice blue, Loki in red, to match his element, fire, Anubis in crimson, Vishnu in silver, Baudet in rose, Aiden in gold, and Raiden in white. Everyone had something that signifies something special to them on the back of their robes for luck. Raiden's was a black rose. Everyone concentrated on their power, and suddenly disappeared. They reappeared in two lines in front of the two large doors of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Everyone concentrated on their power, and suddenly disappeared. They reappeared in two lines in front of the two large doors of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Aiden led, followed by Baudet and Vishnu, then Loki and cried, then Anubis and Scotty, finally followed up by Raiden and Freya. Aiden raised his hand, and the doors flew open. The cloaked figures entered the Great Hall. Everything was silent. "Give yourselves up now, and we will not have to hurt you." Albus Dumbledore's voice rang out over the quiet of the hall. All of the teachers were standing, wands raised, looking in awe at the figures who radiated so much power. "Dumbledore, you haven't changed a bit. Always a drama queen." Aiden called out. "You shouldn't threaten those who come to save your pathetic lives." James Potter yelled. "What did you say, Death Eater?" This caused Aiden to chuckle. "God, Potter, if you got any dimmer, you'd be a one-celled organism." James shot a cutting hex at Aiden, which he caught in his hand, twirled around his fingers a bit, and then clapped. The hex was gone. "Have you ever heard of the warrior, Aiden?" Aiden's voice held power, which no one in the room could deny. "He's dead, you idiot," Lily called out, not hiding the scorn in her voice. "He's been dead for years. Now, Mrs. Potter, if he's dead, how are you talking to him?" "Oh, God!" Lily looked faint. "And no, you're dead. Your death was reported to the ministry. I have the file, you're lying." Aiden lowered his hood. "Do I seem like a type to give out false information, Mrs. Potter?" Lily fainted. Dumbledore stood there, shocked to say the least. He soon recovered. "It's nice to see you again, Mr. Aiden." "It's not really a pleasure to see you again, Headmaster Dumbledore, I'd have to say," Aiden said. Dumbledore's face reddened, and he shifted uncomfortably. "Why don't we continue this discussion in private?" "That would be a fine idea, come." Aiden signaled the two lines behind him to follow, as he followed the old headmaster out of the Great Hall and into a small sitting room. "Please sit down, Mr. Aiden. Who are your accomplices, by the way?" Dumbledore implored. Aiden sat down and signaled everyone to follow his lead and to take a seat on a couch or chair. "Baudet." Carla stood up and lowered her hood. "My wife. A pleasure to meet you, my lady," Dumbledore said with a forced smile. Baudet rolled her eyes and sat back down. Aiden tried to cover up a laugh with a cough, but it was easy to figure it out. "Vishnu." Noah stood up and removed his hood, his face impassive. "Nice to meet you," Dumbledore offered, but was denied a response as the teen sat back down, face still unreadable. "Anubis." Ian stood, pulled back his hood, his red, Flecked eyes glimmered in the light, and then he sat back down. Loki. Glenn stood up, took his hood off, shot the headmaster a look, and sat back down before anything could be said. Scotty. Mariah stood up and removed her hood. Her glacier eyes were frigid. Lovely to meet you, Dumbledore said weakly. Mariah snorted and sat down. Freya. Kaylee stood up and removed her hood. Her pink eyes locked on Dumbledore's, and he shivered. Freya sat down, smirking in her head, but her face remained a mask on the outside. Cried. Jenna stood up, removed her hood, and sat down, face still black. And Ryden. Ryden reluctantly removed his hood and looked at Dumbledore, his emerald eyes blazing. He sat down as soon as he could, mask back in place. By Merlin. Harry Potter. Dumbledore looked faint. It's Ryden, Aiden said curtly, giving the headmaster a cold look. Oh, okay, Mr. Ryden. This is my family. Do not attempt to hurt, question, or bother them in any way, or they will be forced to use extreme measures. Aiden paused so his words would sink in. If you have a place for my family to stay, I have things to discuss with you. If you don't have room, they can sleep in the forest. Oh yes, we have plenty of room, Dobby. A host elf appeared. Please set up places for them to sleep. Dumbledore leaned back in his chair, thinking over his words carefully before saying them. You do know Lily and James Potter will want their son returned to them. I will never return my son to those people. They don't deserve him. Carla blurted out, taking a seat next to Aiden, who put his arm around her shoulders. They may try to charge you with kidnapping. Dumbledore tried. They will be charged with child abuse then, but we don't want any trouble, do we, dear? Carla said, her words filled with venom. No, of course not. Aiden gulped when Carla was mad. It was not a good idea to deny her anything. All of the teens' ears perked up. Ryden was abused? Anger coursed through their veins. Their little brother was hurt by those Potter people. No one hurt their family and lived to tell about it. Ryden shut his eyes. He hoped no one had heard what Carla had said, but he knew the damage was done. Now everyone knew what Ryden had run from. CH4. Thanks for the reviews, guys. My chapters are short, I know. And I'm really sorry, but I'm being pressed with schoolwork and technical difficulties with home life right now, so I'm doing my best. These are not good enough excuses. Oh, that one flame I got added another touch to my horrible day, for the record. I had found out that I need to have surgery on my feet that day, so I got rather pissy after that. That's why I waited to post this chapter. I had to cool off. Well, enjoy. I'll try to make the chapters longer. Dobby led the now fully covered figures to their chambers, earning them a lot of whispering and pointing by students along the way. When they reached their quarters, Dobby gave them the password and Ryden thanked him, which shocked Dobby to no end. If masters need anything, just call Dobby, and I bring you anything you need. Thank you again, Dobby. Kaylee said right before the host elf disappeared, just so she could see him look really shocked at being thanked again. Dung bombs, Vishnu said, and they entered their chambers. It was like a standard house/tower, a girl's tower and a boy's tower. Glenn and Carla had a room off to the side of the common room. Ryden went up the stairs and looked around. The room was crimson and navy blue in color. There were 4 beds, 4 desks, and 4 wardrobes in the room. Each of the boys unshrunk their trunks that they had in a pocket in their battle robes and changed into normal clothes. Ryden put on sweatpants and a white wife beater shirt. He headed down to the common room to where the girls were already stretched out on the couches and took a seat on a high-backed, crimson chair. So, what do you think of this place? Glenn said as he walked down the stairs and stretched out on the thick carpet on the floor with a contented sigh. It's all right, I guess, a bit too creepy for my taste, though. Huge, haunted, cold castles aren't really my thing, you know, Jenna said, looking around the room. And the color scheme reeks. They have to try something called matching. Sheesh, I thought Ian sucked at color coordination. This comment was met with Ian's reply of, I can't help it if I wasn't born with, oh so wonderful and perfect, Jenna's gift of making things look pretty. Giggles and snickers rang out from the teenagers occupying the common room. So what are we going to do with this whole secrecy thing, like about our appearance and names? Kaylee asked after a minute. I think, once Gavin and Carla reach a compromise, or threaten him the right way, we may be able to leave the rooms unhooded and meet some of the other wizards here. About the names, I have no freaking clue how they can work that out. They probably will use out first and real names, excluding Ryden, of course. Noah said thoughtfully, and then closed his eyes as he played the day's events over in his head. You know, the way Carla and Gavin have so much control over the greatest wizard ever is rather funny, in my opinion. He's a wimp, Mariah supplied, snickering. Yeah, I'd have to agree with Ice Queen over there. He's a total wuss. Glenn added with another snicker. He also is a complete idiot. Stupid big-mouthed motherfucker. Harry growled in frustration. His carefully concealed secret broken open within minutes of entering the one place he almost dreaded as much as his old home. Yeah, we meant to ask you about that. Was it true like what he said about you? And will you know? Noah asked hesitantly, which was unusual for such a know-it-all like himself. Ryden sighed. I knew it couldn't last forever, guys. I mean, burying my past. You all know who I am and what I have to do. But what you don't know is that my brother, Ryden said so venomously that a few of the teens jumped, is the supposed chosen one. His scar is on his neck, while mine is on my forehead. I was forgotten, and my brother lapped up the spotlight. It was like trying to live up to something you knew you couldn't. I was in his shadow for what I thought was going to be forever. When I turned 6, I wished I had remained forgotten. The Potters began to hurt me, mostly for their perfect son's shortcomings. Then it went to small things like spilling some milk, breaking a plate, missing a spot on the floor while scrubbing, or whatever. Finally, I got fed up with it. I ran away. That is when I met Gavin. Ryden's deep green eyes were troubled. Everyone could see it. Kaylee rushed over and put her arms around her best friend. I can't believe anyone could do something like that to their own flesh and blood. It's sick. Glenn shook his head in disgust. If you want to see physical proof, I'll show you. Ryden got up off his seat and stood up straight. Haven't any of you wondered why I never took my shirt off while training? Never even once? Ryden looked around the room to see some nods. He then took his sleeveless top off and turned around, only to hear gasps from his family. Ryden turned back around, shirt in one hand. I was pushed down the stairs by my father for my brother's lie. Now you see, I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. He slipped his shirt back on and sat back down, head in hands. Kaylee put her arms around her almost when brother and cried. She cried for him because he refused to do so himself. After about 10 minutes of silence, Ryden went upstairs and turned in for bed, leaving a bunch of hot-blooded teenagers downstairs to plot their revenge on the hateful family, who in their eyes were evil, not having the right to even be called human. I can't believe it. The proof was practically dancing naked in front of our eyes, and we didn't see it. The way he flinched when he began learning to fight whenever anyone made a quick movement. The way, when he first came, his ribs could be counted through his skin. The way his eyes were hollow, and we didn't understand what he went through. We couldn't see it and be there for him. Noah ran a hand through his hair. It was Ryden's choice not to tell us. He thought we'd treat him differently, like something fragile, like he was going to break with one touch, one cruel word. He was right. We probably would have done that if we knew the truth. But now, we know who he is. He's not a little boy anymore, and it's time for him to face the thing he's been running from for years, the Potters and their little bastard of a son. Jenna shook her silken hair out from her eyes. We will be there to help him, though, and make the Potters' lives a living hell, as long as you guys are with me. Are you? Can you risk everything to help your friend? Hell yes, Mariah exclaimed. Anyone in our family is our first priority. Even before our own safety at times, I'm in. Same, Kaylee cried. What do you think? Of course, Noah said, his eyes flashing. Why wouldn't I help a friend? I'm in. Ian added, looking around the small group. I can put my talents to good use. Helping my family? Why wouldn't I say yes? Glenn laughed, raising his hand. They're going down, bastards that they are. I'll see to it. I knew I could count on you guys. Now, this is what we're going to do. Everyone smiled viciously as the group huddled closely together, listening to what Jenna was saying. Malicious expressions were on every face. Little did the Potters know hell was soon going to come to earth. By the time Carla and Gavin came to their rooms, only Glenn and Ian were left in the common room. Both were asleep on the sofas. It left a smile on both of the adults' faces. They quietly went into their room, located next to the girls' staircase. Glenn, do you think they're ready? I mean, they're like my children. I love them. I'd trust them with my life any day. It's just, no, that's silly. Carla stopped with a small laugh, shaking her head. No, what is it? Just tell me. I won't laugh, I promise. Gavin turned to face his wife, who was looking vacantly at a spot on the wall just above his head. It's just that I've grown to treat them like I gave birth to them, like they are really ours. Our babies, I just can't think of one of them getting hurt or killed. I love them so much. It's ripping me apart from the inside. I'm so scared. Carla began to cry, and in a rare display of affection, Gavin wrapped his arms around his sobbing wife. They're love, I know, they're like my kids as well. We have to let them go. Let them do what they were trained to do. I hate to admit it, but they could be killed. They know that, but they are willing to risk everything, just like us. We have to be strong, Carla. You have to be strong. Gavin's eyes began to water as well, but he quickly blinked the unshed tears away. He wasn't one to cry or show emotions openly. I know, I love you, Gavin. Remember that no matter what. I love you. I love you too, Carla. I have loved you from the first time I saw you. From the first time I saw you shoot with that bow of yours, I knew we were meant to be together. I remember you swinging a rather large broadsword, which caught my attention. I think you decapitated 3 death munchkins in one swipe. Carla responded with a hiccup and a laugh. I think we are the strangest couple, 2 warriors, raising 7 teenagers under our roof, training them to risk their lives like we risk our lives to save others. Yeah, I'd have to agree with you on that one. Gavin trailed off as he was pulled into a passionate kiss by his wife. The next morning, Raiden was awakened by Noah, as usual. Wake up before I have to go to extreme measures, twerp. Noah growled playfully as Raiden pretended to continue sleeping. They got him moving, though. The last time he ignored Noah when he threatened to do something extreme, he was awakened by a bucket of ice water and shrieks of laughter. I'm up. I'm up already, Grr. You are such a pain in the ass, no. Raiden growled as he crawled out of his warm and comfortable bed. I know you love me, little bro. Anyways, this trip isn't a holiday. We still have to train, so go take a shower. We're supposed to meet Gavin outside by the lake in 30 minutes. Got it? Noah laughed as Raiden gave him a dirty look and sauntered off towards the bathroom, tripping over Ian's trunk along the way and using some very colorful expletives to show how he felt about it. That kid. Noah shook his head and laughed. 30 minutes later, everyone was gathered down by the lake. Carla would take the girls through the morning training, while Gavin would take the boys. It just worked easier that way. Gavin didn't like to have to deal with feminine problems such as PMS. He'd rather make his wife do that. Okay, for laps around the lake after you stretch. Got it? Gavin quirked his head to the side. You better not be slacking off. Someone with a long, crooked nose is watching you. This evoked a laugh from each of the boys. Raiden ran through his stretches quickly but properly, and he was the first to begin his run. By his 3rd lap, he could feel his legs burning and lungs begging to ache. He pressed on without slowing a bit. It was about 1 mile around the lake, making it that the boys had to run 4 miles in total. By the time Raiden finished, he had begun to sweat, but was warm and ready to begin his daily practice and training. First, they ran through simple drills such as having small rubber balls thrown at you and having to duck, jump, roll, and flip to keep from getting hit. There also was fighting/wrestling with your hands tied behind your back. You had to pin or make it so that your opponent isn't able to win. The loser has to run another lap around the lake. Those were the warm-ups. Next was going through the motions of sword moves, using a blunt blade, of course. Then they ran through martial arts moves. Finally, they had mock matches using martial arts and swords. The last thing they did was a duel using magic. All in all, it was always a tough, rigorous practice. Plus, they worked in the evenings as well. The afternoons were usually left for them to enjoy. They could do work, clean, ride horses, work out, read, or whatever. Since they weren't home, they had no idea what they could do for fun. Clapping was heard as 3 people stepped out from the shadows of the forest. Dumbledore's eyes were twinkling. His mind was working fast, trying to figure out a way to use these people to his advantage. To Raiden's horror, the other 2 people were the Potters. He edged back slightly behind the group, while the others had to keep a handle on themselves so they wouldn't go get their revenge for their littlest brother then and there. May we help you, Mr. Dumbledore? Jenna asked, putting her indifferent mask up once again after its momentary lapse. Yes, Miss Cried, is it? Dumbledore smiled in what must have been his idea of a grandfatherly way, causing every one of the teenagers there to have to restrain themselves from gagging. I was wondering, since Mr. Gavin is so busy, could you train one of my students? Mr. Dumbledore, I have no idea where you got the idea of any of us would have any intention to train your students, but wherever you got it from, leave it there. We are not a tool just because we are here. Jenna was extremely angry, as could have been seen by her response. Now, if you will excuse us, Mr. Dumbledore, we have places to go and people to see. Yes, Mr. Gavin told me you were a feisty one, but he was the one who directed me to you. He said you would have a special interest in training Mr. Potter, for some odd reason. I trust you have heard his history? As you know, he is the boy who lived, and the chosen one, and our savior. We need him in tip-top shape to fight. Dumbledore flashed the smile again, and everyone tried to cover up their winces. Oh, you mean Tyler Potter? Of course, silly me. Of course, we'd be honored to teach him, Jenna emphasized, trying not to snigger at how pleased the headmaster was. If he only knew the torture they would put the boy through, when he found out, it would be priceless to see his expression. Everyone else caught on to her little word play and nodded, concealing their mirth. Well, since that is settled, why don't we head into the Great Hall for breakfast, and then we can discuss his training in my office. Afterwards, Dumbledore led the way across the grounds back to the school. Lily and James followed at a distance, talking quietly between them. I don't know, James, this could be dangerous. I mean, they aren't exactly qualified, are they? Lily was worried. What if her little baby got hurt? Don't worry so much, Lil. Ty's a big boy and can handle himself. I bet by the time he's done with his first lesson, he'll be able to beat any of those children with one hand tied behind his back. Potters soak everything up like a sponge. James kissed his wife quickly on the cheek as a reassurance. Now, doesn't that boy remind you of someone? You know, the one with the black hair. Meanwhile, Kaylee had draped an arm around Ryden's shoulders and murmured small words that didn't make much sense. But the soothing sounds of her voice eventually broke through Ryden's frozen shell of shock and fear of seeing his parents, or the spawn of Satin, as the rest of the team had come to call them when Ryden wasn't around. So, Ryden, Glenn said, what's for breakfast? How should I know? I'm as new here as you are. Ryden shot back, making everyone laugh. They had gotten their boy back to normal again. Ha, very funny little dude. Now I really am curious. I hope it doesn't taste like cow shit like that diner we stopped at that one time while we were on assignment. Glenn winced at the memory of his burnt sausage and extra crispy toast. Yikes. I remember that one. If I remember correctly, though, it was Noah who picked the shithole out. I think a little overdue revenge is in order. What do you think, guys? Ian laughed as everyone gave their agreement, and Noah took off running. Charge! Mariah yelled, tackling Noah from behind. Everyone began tickling him as he yelled for them to cut it the hell out before I bring out a can of whoop-ass. While all of this was going on, Dumbledore and the Potters watched in amusement, until the teenagers stopped their attack, helped each other up, and kept walking like nothing happened. Dumbledore chuckled. Those kids were something. Too bad they got mixed up in this whole war, and they might not even be wizards, well, not British wizards anyway. He had no idea how wrong he was. As the entourage entered the Great Hall, silence fell over the students as they got a better glimpse of the strangers, who were all dressed in Muggle clothes and were covered in sweat, and in some cases a little blood, but not much. None of the teenagers paid any attention to the students' reactions because they had spotted food, meaning well, food. A little bit of drool came out of the corner of Ian's mouth as he looked over the mounds of breakfast food piled up on the tables in front of them. Dumbledore conjured another table, seeing that they weren't a part of any of the houses and very well couldn't sit at the staff table. You can sit here. Everyone hurriedly sat down as Dumbledore called the host elf, Dobby, again and asked him to send food up to this table as well at all meals until they were to depart, which may be a long time away. As all of the teenagers shoved whatever was in the local vicinity down their throats, chatter began to break out once again amongst the houses, most of it having to do with the new arrivals. Most of it was like this: he's so dreamy, she's totally hot, look at those abs, she has a great ass, who are they? Do you think they are dark or light? What's up with that hair? Etc. Gee, all they're talking about is so childish. I mean, come on, my ass isn't that great. Kaylee sniggered, and Ryden shot the person who said such a thing a death glare. She was his sister for Merlin's sake. So what's next? Noah asked, whipping his mouth on his napkin and standing up. Dumbledore. I mean, Dumbledore asked us to meet him in his office. Mariah shrugged, enjoying her little joke. Just then a few brave students approached the group. "Excuse me," a bushy-haired girl squeaked. "I'm Hermione Granger, Gryffindor Perfect. I just wanted to welcome you to Hogwarts." "Hey, thanks, I think," Glenn mumbled, still chewing. "And I'm Tyler Evan Potter. You must have heard of me. I'm the boy who lived." A rather rotund boy said, sneering. "And you must be those strange people who came in last night." "Correct. We are here for a reason not to be disclosed. Now, if you'll excuse us." Jenna tried to push past Potter and his little posse. "Well, sweet cheeks, I have to say your beauty is astounding, as well as how feisty you are. How about you, me, and my large bottle of fire whiskey meet out by the lake tonight?" Potter tried to sound suave, but failed miserably. Everyone tried to hold back their sniggers and giggles. "No, thank you, Mr. Potter. I'm not in need of a boy with a brain the size of a pea. But if I need to transfigure a pig into something, I'll be sure to call you." Jenna smiled slightly at the dazed look on Potter's face at being shot down. "Now move before I make you move." Needless to say, a path formed extremely quickly, and the teens exited the hall without any interruptions. When they reached somewhere with no people in it, they fell to the floor laughing. Tears streamed down Glenn's face as he rolled on the floor, clutching his stomach, laughing. Did you see that look on his face?" Glenn howled. "That was definitely a Kodak moment," Mariah said, a malicious grin on her face. She was the only one not doubled over on the floor or trying to stop themselves from losing control of their bladder. "You go, girl," was all Kaylee could manage before beginning to laugh again. "Priceless," Ian added, still laughing. A small bubble of drool was forming out of the left side of his mouth. "Yep, that was a good one," cried. "You have the best luck with men, don't you?" Ryden asked, receiving a snort from Jenna in response. After they stopped laughing and cleaned themselves up a bit, they headed up to the headmaster's office with the help of the map Gavin gave them this morning. Anyone know the password?" Glenn asked, scratching his head. The headmaster and Gavin had neglected to tell them that bit of information. "Hold on a second. Let me have a crack at it." Ryden pushed to the front of the group and smiled as a sudden thought struck him. He bent down and whispered something to the gargoyles, which evoked an automatic reaction of spring to the sides. "What did you say?" Mariah asked as they went up the stairs. "Something involving a long, crooked nose and some other body parts. Let's not go into that topic right now." Ryden put his mask up and knocked on the door. "Come in, Mr. Ryden and company." Dumbledore was seated behind his desk, eyes twinkling. "You requested to see up, Mr. Dumbledore?" Ryden asked stiffly. "Please take a seat." Dumbledore motioned to the 7 seats that now were located in front of his desk. They weren't there a minute ago. Ryden had to admit, the man was good. "I called you up here to discuss Mr. Potter's training." "Yes," Clyde replied simply, while thinking. "Get on with it already, you old manipulating bastard." "Well, you see, Mr. Potter is a bit out of shape. He's a special child, and I would go as far to say that he has been overcoddled in some ways. He needs this training, or the wizarding world will be in mortal peril." Some of the group had to restrain themselves from rolling their eyes at the man's thick-headedness. Couldn't he see he had the wrong son? Ryden was the chosen one, not that spoiled brat Tyler. The little idiot couldn't last a damned moment in the heat of battle before running to his mother. "Well, there is another thing we must discuss as well. I understand Mr. Aiden has requested." There were a couple of stifled coughs coming from the portraits on the walls at this comment. "That I not reveal your identity, Mr. Ryden. Are you aware of this?" Dumbledore asked, running a hand through his beard. "Yes," Ryden replied just as stiffly as he had before. "I am aware of this." "Good. Well, I hope you could give me your opinion on this whole fiasco. Do you think your loving parents have the right to take you back into your rightful home after you were kidnapped?" Anger shot through every one of Ryden's veins. No amount of training or control could save Dumbledore from his wrath now. "What the fuck do you think? Do they deserve the right?" No, they don't. For once, I am happy in you. You stupid old bastard have to try and ruin that for me. When I was younger, you saw the abuse, but you chose to ignore it. Why? Couldn't you see they were slowly killing me? My magic was slowly sapping away. I was lucky that I escaped when I did. And I was not kidnapped. I left on my own free will, And when I did, I was lucky that Gavin had found me, or otherwise I'd have died, or had to return to my own personal hell, and I would have died there anyways. Would you have liked to have my blood on your hands? Is that what you wanted? What kind of person leaves a kid to suffer in silence? Did you even care? Of course not. You'd never think of anyone except yourself and your golden boy. I was taught to forgive and forget, but this is too much, too personal. No one and no one should have to suffer like I did at the hands of my parents and brother. I'd rather die than go back to those bastards. You'll have to kill me first. Of course you'd do that to keep Potter happy, wouldn't you? Well, go fuck yourself. I'm not going back. Ryden sat there, breathing heavily as everyone in the room stared at him. Well, Mr. Ryden, I feel that you have some strong issues you need to take care of before you can be with your parents once again. So I'll just keep that request honored, all right? Dumbledore looked around nervously. The little objects on his shelves were floating, and it was not looking good because many of those objects had sharp points. Fuck you, was all Ryden said as he stormed out of the office. Well, now since we have that cleared up, why don't we get on to the plans? Dumbledore's annoying little voice said as the group shook their heads. This man was a piece of work, all right. I wonder where Ryden is. Kaylee said. Something wasn't right. She could feel it. For the 500th time, Kaylee, he's fine. He just has to let off some steam. You saw him earlier. He just needs some time alone. You know, some downtime. Ian answered irritably. But in the pit of his stomach, he could feel something was wrong as well. He just chose to pretend the little nauseous feeling didn't exist. Chili and Kaylee, I feel it too. I don't know if it's just tension from earlier or something else entirely, but whatever it is, I feel it. It doesn't mean that you can jump down each other's throats. Got it? Jenna growled, an angry gleam in her eye, and a listen to me or suffer the wrath of PMS kind of undertone. If I say yes, will you promise not kill me in my sleep? Ian asked timidly, taking a step back from the older girl. Whatever, you dipshit. Come in, Jenna muttered as she stalked off. She wasn't in a good mood earlier, and the feeling that something was going to happen any second wasn't helping. About 20 minutes after this episode, the group headed down to lunch in the Great Hall. You know, Ryden hasn't come back yet. We should probably go looking for him, or at least tell Gavin and Carla what happened. Kaylee said as they walked into the hall and sat down. MMPH. Noah agreed through a mouthful of chicken. Yeah, whatever, you pig. Chew your food, don't inhale it. Mariah remarked as she wiped her mouth with her napkin. As tough as she was, she still believed in good table manners. Just as Noah was going to shoot back a scathing remark, the doors burst open and in staggered Ryden, covered in dirt and blood. Just thought you guys would like to know. There's about 100 death munchkins surrounding the castle. Just as Noah was going to shoot back a scathing remark, the doors burst open and in staggered Ryden, covered in dirt and blood. Just thought you guys would like to know. There's about 100 death munchkins surrounding the castle. The benches scraped along the floor, and screams of terror could be heard. The students were terrified, to say the least. The bunch of teenagers sitting at the unnamed table quickly summoned their battle robes. Ryden did the same. He didn't have time to while he was outside fighting. What do you mean? Dumbledore asked, as he strode towards the rather ragged figure called Ryden. I mean exactly what I said, you old-ass bandit. Ryden gasped out as he tried to catch his breath. Everyone noticed he was breathing raggedly. Are you all right? Lily Potter asked as she walked up to stand next to Dumbledore. Is that a fucking rhetorical question? Ryden narrowed his eyes as Lily narrowed hers. We have to get out there and fight. But here you people are standing around. Baudet was telling the perfects to take their houses to their common rooms, ward the doors, and protect the younger students who don't know how to fight. Those orders were received and immediately put into action, except for 3 certain people. They were 1 Tyler Potter, Ron Weasley, and Hermione Granger. What's going on, Professor Dumbledore? Tyler asked as he ran up to the old man. Can I help you and the order fight? No, Tyler, my boy. You're not ready. Anyways, we have these people here who can help us. Dumbledore pulled his wand out of his pocket. But Professor, Weasley whined. I said no. Dumbledore almost snapped, losing his grandfatherly front for a second. But you let those kids go out and fight. Look at them, they're no better than us. They're no older than us. Anyways, look, that boy there is already hurt. He can't go out. Tyler moaned. Dumbledore was losing his cool. He said, "No, you twat. Now shut up and go to your common rooms. And you perfect. Go do your duty and protect the younger students you, Shankhor," cried Snarled, making the three insolent teenagers in front of her gape in shock. "Do you understand? Go." Needless to say, the teens ran off, one of them slightly wetter than when he decided to be an idiot and get on Cride's nerves. "Battle formation XXV," Aiden bellowed. All of the teenagers still present strode out the doors. They were really a sight, cloaked and dangerous looking. It made you forget they were just children playing an adult's game. Cride, Anubis, and Vishnu grouped up and headed towards the left once they exited the hall. Scotty and Loki went right. Raiden and Freya went straight. Aiden ran ahead of Raiden and Freya, and Bothead headed up to the infirmary to help Pomfrey. She could tell this would be a gory battle. "Freya right," Raiden commanded, seeing the gamekeeper and his dog being put under Crucio. "Got it, Raiden," Freya answered, seeing it too. The pair rushed over to the good-sized group of Death Eaters who were torturing the large man and his pet. Both of them reached for their swords. No one had noticed them yet, which was good, but that wouldn't last long. "Hey, Erectal Rangers, get a load of this," Raiden shouted, decapitating one of the Death Munchkins. "Aw, Avery, you killed Avery," one of the masked figures screeched. "That kid beheaded Avery." "Good. I'm glad you can see that," was all that Freya could say before they had her dodging curses, as well as Raiden. "Adva Kedva," bellowed one of the black cloak fellows. That spell was Raiden's specialty. Gavin had found out Raiden was able to withstand the killing curse when he was 10 years old. He thought it was because after the first time he got hit as a baby, he became immune to its effects. Raiden jumped directly in front of the spell, which was heading towards Freya. She could have blocked it if she had to, but it would have taken her eyes off of the other Death Muppets. "Ha! We got the little bastard!" exclaimed one of the Death Eaters as Raiden sunk to his knees. The laughing quickly turned to screams as Raiden's head shot up, his eyes glowing a violent green color. He picked himself up off the ground and helped Freya clean up the rest of the Death Eaters who tried to get away. The sound of a trumpet announced the arrival of the Order of the Phoenix. They certainly had drama issues. The Order was clad in crimson and gold robes, which stood out awkwardly amongst the black ones they were battling. At least you wouldn't make the mistake of blasting one of them because you thought they were a Death Eater. All of a sudden, a loud howl brought the battle to an almost standstill. Well, at least the Order and the Death Eater stopped. The rest of them kept on chopping, shooting spells, and more just maiming and killing. Those were usual and normal things for the teens, so they didn't think twice about it usually. The howl came from the Forbidden Forest. Almost all eyes were turned in that direction as dark blue cloaked figures with silver moons on the back of them walked out of the forest. The Order of the Wolf was here. Not many knew about this discreet organization, and they had only been present at a very few raids. With the odds even a bit for the light side, either the Death Eaters would have to give up, or they would have to call for reinforcements. They weren't doing either. It seemed this must be some kind of suicide mission, do or die. They must have all been selected by the Darkest Rag himself. Raiden soon found himself separated from Freya after getting hit with a rather nasty cutting hex which got him in the shoulder. It only grazed him, but it still stung like hell. Another figure was next to him before he knew it though. The two were fighting back to back. The man who was fighting valiantly with him was part of the Order of the Wolf. As they struggled to keep the Death Eaters at bay, they chatted slightly as if to calm themselves down. Well, at least the man, Raiden, was already calm, cool, and collected. He was in his center of power, his sanctuary, his safe spot where nothing could touch him. The man introduced himself as Beta. The Beta is second to Alpha in a wolf pack. "I'm Raiden," the teenager replied through gritted teeth while he haphazardly chopped some charging Death Eater's arm off. "Nice to fight with you, Raiden. Who are you with? The Phoenix? No, you're way too young. Are you a student?" The man asked in quick succession, without letting Raiden answer any of the questions. "No, I'm not a student here." Raiden paused to shoot a stunner or two. "I'm one of Aiden's children." "Do you mean the Aiden?" Beta asked in disbelief, nearly letting a Death Munchkin under his guard. "Yes, the Aiden, and no, he's not dead. He is here fighting right now." Raiden hit a figure with the broadside of his sword, knocking him into next Thursday. "Awesome. I always wanted to be like him when I was a kid." Beta replied before having to duck out of the way of a stinging hex which hit Raiden, but he just brushed it off like it was nothing. Don't these fucktards ever give up? Raiden panted about an hour later. The man was almost falling to the ground exhausted, but Raiden was still holding strong. He didn't know how much longer he could last, though. His magic reserves were running low from healing all of his injuries. I like your attitude, kid. Beta joked weakly. Raiden knew this would have to end soon, or he'd lose Beta in the chaos once he had to move on. The older man was in no shape to be fighting. Sectisempra! A voice bellowed, and Raiden cried out in pain as he hit the ground hard. Oh shit! Beta yelled, as he put up another shield, thinking Raiden was dead. I'm okay, Raiden weakly said, stiffly getting up. He couldn't put any weight on his left leg, but he wouldn't tell Beta that. He had other problems to deal with. It was then that the Death Eaters became less and less. They were either stunned, unconscious, dead, or lying somewhere in pain. Very few got away unharmed. By that time, Raiden was becoming weak and lightheaded from blood loss, and his magic reserve couldn't take any more stress. He found himself leaning heavily on Beta for support as they made their way through the body-strewn grounds of Hogwarts. Just hang in there, please don't die on me. I can't lose another one, the man pleaded. They had a problem. Fighting was still going on, just cleaning up a bit, but still, the doors of Hogwarts were securely locked. They couldn't get inside. Beta weakly put up a shield, and he and Raiden slumped to the ground. I'm not going anywhere, Raiden croaked, trying to sit up straight. What do you mean again? Raiden stopped suddenly. There, sitting in front of him, was Sirius Black, also known as Beta. WTF? Raiden exclaimed, scooting back from Sirius. Huh? What's wrong? Sirius asked, concerned. The boy must be delusional from blood loss. This isn't real. Shit, this is not happening. Raiden ran a hand through his hair. What? Harry? Harry, is that you? Oh, Merlin. I have been so worried. Sirius didn't know where to start. You recognize me? Raiden asked. Even Potter, Raiden snarled the name, didn't recognize me. You are my godson. I know every inch of you, or knew. Anyway, Potter, did you say? That arse, he's a good-for-nothing motherfucker. That's what he is. I'll let him get away with that. I'm sorry, Harry. I should have been there for you. Tears streamed down Sirius's face freely as he looked upon his godson. Thanks, Siri. I missed you. Raiden moved back over to Sirius and leaned his head on his godfather's shoulder. I had to leave, though. I had to. Raiden's voice was growing faint. Don't leave me, Harry. Please try to stay awake, Sirius begged. Raiden's eyes shot open at the sound of Aiden's voice. Raiden, where are you? Sirius dropped his shield and shot a beam of sparks into the air with his wand since Raiden was in no shape to do such a thing. He clung onto his godson's body protectively, though. Aiden was frantically looking for his boy. He wasn't anywhere to be found. There were a few injuries, none too bad, though. It was then he saw the sparks. He ran towards its source cautiously, thinking it could be a trap. After seeing a strange man clutching the pale and non-moving form of his son, he yelled in rage and charged. The man's eyes opened wide at the sight of an angry man bellowing and running at him with a blood-covered sword. Sirius protectively covered his godson's unconscious or nearly unconscious body with his own body in a protective, self-sacrificing gesture. You won't hurt Harry, Sirius yelled. Kill me, but don't hurt Harry. Aiden stopped short. Harry? This man must have realized who Raiden really was. I won't hurt either of you. Now give me the boy. No, you'll hurt him. Sirius yelled back. No, I won't. I'm his father. Now give him to me. He needs medical attention. Aiden commanded. Sirius got up and watched as the man threw his Harry over his shoulder in a fireman's carry and began running towards one of Hogwarts' entrances. Or that's what Sirius thought he was doing. He yelled out as both Harry and the suspected Aiden disappeared into thin air. Raiden gasped as he felt the pain shoot through his leg, knocking him from his sweet black abyss. Hey guys, he's awake. Kaylee squealed as she ran over to Raiden. It was then that he realized he was lying on Gavin and Carla's bed in their room. What's going on? Raiden asked. What happened? Well, idiot that you are, got yourself into a jam, didn't call back up, got hurt, kept fighting, nearly died. You know the usual. Gavin answered his question as he strode into the room, motioning for Kaylee to leave. What the hell were you thinking, kid? You could have died. I mean, we couldn't even heal your leg completely. Your magic reserves are running low, so you can't heal yourself either. Did we get those double baggers? Raiden asked, sitting up even though his leg protested. Gavin grinned viciously, even though he should have been scolding Raiden. Did we get them? Of course we got those dipshits. They didn't stand a chance. Raiden hooped and grinned widely. He knew the light was going to win that battle, even though it looked pretty close at the beginning. Now on to the serious stuff. First off, kid, I'm proud of you. I talked to Mr. Black. It seems you were staying with him, so he didn't get killed. That is bravery if I ever saw it. Second, before you get too cocky, Carla gave explicit instructions to stay off that damn blasted leg, or I'll skin him alive. You know she'll hold true to her word. Raiden gulped. He so did not want to face Carla's wrath. Where is she now? Helping out in the infirmary, of course, when I brought you and she left whatever she was doing to take care of you. Carla, Gavin yelled as she ran into the infirmary, carrying the unconscious boy. Gavin, I'm busy. I can't fight now, came Carla's annoyed reply from behind a curtain. It's Raiden, was all Gavin had to say before Carla dropped the potion as he was holding and ran to her husband. What happened? She asked, checking his vital signs, noting that Raiden was having a hard time breathing and his pulse was weak and fluttering. I really have no idea. One minute he was fighting, the next he was being protected from me by one of the wolves. After the man figured out I wasn't going to hurt Raiden, I picked him up and came here. Let's take him to our room. It's safer. Carla grabbed some supplies, and they disappeared only to reappear back in their room. Gavin set Raiden down on the bed and let Carla do her thing. He sat down in a chair to wait, and the next thing he knew, he was being awakened by Carla. An hour had passed. He'll be okay. It seems he used a lot of power, so he can't self-heal yet. The longer it takes for him to begin healing, the worse the damage becomes. It could be a few weeks or a few months before he can walk on it again well enough to go back into battle. I can't give him any potions either, as you know how he reacts to them. The couple had found out that Raiden was allergic to potions when he was 9 years old and broke his arm in 3 places. Carla had tried to give him a bone-fixing potion, but it made him violently ill. Carla sat down on Gavin's lap and sighed, wrapping her arms around his neck. Gavin sighed as well, kissing her head. I was so worried, seeing him like that, lying there as if dead. He was so pale, Merlin. I thought he was dead. It's okay, Gavin, he'll be fine. Carla reassured the great warrior, who one thought had no heart was broken on the inside. What about next time? What if he isn't all right? What if he's gone forever? What if they are all gone forever? What would we do? Carla had never seen Gavin like this before. She merely tightened her grip and said softly, They are strong love, as we must be. They want to do this as do we. We are family, and we share an eternal bond. They know what to do. We love them, but we can't always be there. I feel the pain too, Gavin. I love them so much. Every time I see one of them go out on a mission, my heart tears in two. I worry constantly. They are my babies too. After a while, Carla got up and returned to the infirmary, leaving Gavin to locate the rest of the teens and tell them to return to their rooms. You know Mr. Black is very fond of you, Raiden. I had a long talk with him. He wants to meet with you, if that's all right with you, of course. Gavin said, rubbing his tired eyes. Gavin, please go to sleep. You don't have to worry about me, I'll be fine. I just have to get out of this damn bed. Then I'll be better than. Phoenix. Raiden gave his surrogate father the puppy eyes, and the man laughed. He could never resist the puppy eyes. He conjured a pair of crutches for the boy and left the room to go sleep on the couch, since his bed needed major cleaning. It still had blood on some spots, which they couldn't get out from Raiden's leg wound. Raiden groaned as he hefted himself out of the bed and hobbled out of the room on his crutches. He picked up a book on the dark arts and sat down on a couch across from where Gavin was sleeping. Being this close to his father always made Raiden feel secure and safe. About an hour and 100 pages later, the portrait opened to the one person Raiden wanted to talk to the most, Mr. Sirius Black. He had also brought along someone else who Raiden couldn't place, yet seemed familiar. Hey Raiden, how are you holding up? You took a pretty bad hit. I didn't think you were going to make it for a while. There. Sirius stuttered slightly over Raiden's name. Having been told by Gavin in no uncertain terms what would happen if Sirius called Ryden Harry in public again. Gavin perked up, being a light sleeper. Why, oh, Ryden's Sirius and, another person. Well, I'll leave you three to talk. If you need me, you know where to find me. Gavin yawned again and trudged up the stairs to the boys' room, where he took over Ryden's bed and was out once his head hit the pillow. I'm okay, Sirius. A bit sore, though. I can't stand the fact that one of those jit bags got the better of me. Ryden growled, while Sirius and the unnamed third person in the room laughed. Oh, I forgot, Ryden. This is Remus Lupin. You may remember him as Mooney from before. Anyways, he's also known as Alpha, the leader. I'm Beta, as you know, the second. Sirius explained happily, gesturing to Remus. Hi, Ryden, it's been a while. Wow, that was weak, wasn't it? Remus asked, shaking his head in disbelief at how stupid what he just said sounded. Ryden and Sirius began laughing uncontrollably while Remus stood by glowering. So what possessed you two to start up an army? Ryden asked as he propped his leg up on a pillow. Well, after the whole Potter incident, we kind of broke all ties with Dumbledore and everyone from the Phoenix. We knew we had to do our part for the war effort, so Remus rounded up some of his werewolf friends, and we started the Order of the Wolf. We were a surprising success. We're not dark or light. We're not prejudiced against inhumans or half-humans. We accept all that do not support old Lord Moldywarts. Remus said as he and Sirius plopped down on the couch across from Ryden. You know, Ryan, I may be out of line to ask this, but I was wondering if you were interested in coming with us back to base and helping us train some of our new recruits. They are very green. They won't be ready for battle if we don't get moving, and Remus and I aren't. Well, we are extremely busy with organizing the order. So I thought that while you were on, injury leave, you might like to come with us. Sirius scratched his head. He didn't know how to explain this properly. It's like this, Ryden. The Potters are on your trail, and they have an idea of who you really are. If you are interested in our offer, you could disappear for however long you need to. No one saw you return from battle. They only saw you injured in the Great Hall from what I gathered. You could be dead to them. It might mean leaving your family, but it could be a good idea until you get back in top shape. Remus, being the more verbal communicative of the two, explained what Sirius could not, earning a low growl from Sirius from being shown up. Well, how close do you think they are? Ryden asked. He was getting worried. What if this put his family at risk, him being alive and with them? Well, he couldn't do that. Voldemort was out there, but that wasn't his biggest concern. That went to the Potters and Dumbledore. Like as close as tracing you through your ministry records. Remus sighed and shook his head. What a mess. I think I may take you up on your offer. I can't let those dick lickers hurt my family. They are all I have left. Seeing the men's hurt expressions. Well, until now, of course. Now I have you two dingleberries to worry about, too. Soon I'll be getting gray hairs from worrying so much. I'm too young to be old. Ryden joked to lighten up the situation. It was especially funny since Remus was so young, but he had gray hairs here and there. Sirius howled, and his bark-like laughter rung out over the room. You are a riot, Ryden. I'm glad I'm finally going to get to know you again. There's one more thing, though. Sirius paused and took a breath. I was wondering, since you'd be staying with us and all, and since you are my godson, would you take Black to be a last name? I mean, if you needed one or something. Wow, Siri. I really appreciate that. I consider myself Carla and Gavin's son, but I'm not. Well, not legally anyway. I'd be honored to take your last name as my own. I've always wanted a last name. Ryden Black? I like the sound of that. Ryden held back tears that were threatening to overcome. Hey, kiddo, you're a poet and didn't know it, Gavin said as he stumbled down the stairs. Everyone in the room groaned at the stupid joke. Well, except Gavin, of course. He thought it was extremely funny until he figured out he was the only person laughing. Whatever, you people have no sense of humor. Gavin harumphed and sat down on the sofa next to Ryden, swinging an arm over the teen's shoulders in a protective yet humorous gesture. He had been extremely overprotective of Ryden since nearly losing him, and it was starting to get on Ryden's nerves. So, Gavin, we were just talking and we think I should die. What do you think? Ryden asked, and by the response, he guessed the older man took it wrong. What the fuck? You are not killing yourself. You better not, or else I'll find a way to bring you back and then kill you myself. Gavin bellowed, much to the amusement of the three listeners. who now were laughing so hard that tears were flowing from their eyes. Holy shit, Gavin, a little overdramatic, aren't we? Ryden asked, getting his composure back. Are you PMCing? Gavin growled, shutting everyone except Ryden up. Okay, so what are you three psychopathic chicken chokers talking about? Gavin asked, returning to his normal state of gaviness. Well, my cover is almost blown, so these two asked if I wanted to help them train their troops, at least until I am fit to return to battle, of course. I can't just run off and leave my family to fight, can I? Ryden asked innocently, as Gavin laughed at the simple, yet brilliant plan which just unfolded in front of him. So that's what you mean about being dead? I like it. These two are all right. Just take care of him, or you'll have to deal with the rest of the family, and they all fight like Rye here. Gavin stated quite seriously, choking back a laugh at the looks of pure, unadulterated horror on the men's faces at the thought. They left as soon as Ryden said his goodbyes to his siblings and mother and grabbed his things. Everyone was to go down to dinner, as if they were extremely sad. Aiden had told Dumbledore that Ryden had died from the wounds he received. Though not far from the truth, it was still a lie. Luckily, Aiden was a good liar, as was his family. They actually had a class on the subject at home a few years ago. Dumbledore stood up at dinner. Seeing the teenagers come in, grief etched on their young faces for the loss of Ryden, and announced, "We won this battle with great costs." All of the students' faces turned towards Dumbledore as he said this. "We lost today many a witch and wizard, but I would like to highlight one who stands out, Ryden, son of Aiden." Dumbledore looked at Aiden, who nodded. It was time for the secret to get out. But he was known as Harry James Potter in his life before Aiden. We ask you to lift your glasses to the brother of the boy who lived in memory of his courageous actions in the heat of battle. Mutterings broke out among the students and teachers, but they did what they were asked, to Harry Potter. James Potter motioned for Dumbledore to follow him out of the hall. Lily was waiting. What the hell was that about? James growled angrily, unknown to them. Aiden had followed them in the shadows and was listening to their every word. "That little bastard is dead. He couldn't have been that boy. I know that old age is coming upon you, Albus, but that was just bollocks. That evil monster couldn't have been a fighter like that. He wasn't good enough." That was all Aiden could take. A monster? Evil? This is your son, your flesh and blood. He's dead, and you don't care. Of course you wouldn't care. I've seen his scars. I've been the father he never had. And Baudette has been a better mother than your wretch of a wife could have been for him as well. You don't deserve the right to be called a human. You're the monster, denouncing your dead son, calling him names, and he died in someone else's place. He came here to save lives, and this is how he was repaid. I don't believe you have a heart anymore, Potter. It rotted away with your brain. James snarled and jumped at Aiden, forgetting who he was dealing with. Aiden, expecting this, threw all of his weight into a punch which connected with Potter's stomach, causing him to curl up in a ball on the floor, coughing and whimpering. Lily, who stood there in horror at what was being said, came to her senses and rushed to her husband to make sure he was all right. "You bastard, I think you broke his ribs." "Good, he deserved it. If he can hit a child, I'm sure he can handle some of his own medicine." Aiden threw a dirty look at Dumbledore and exited the hallway. Head down, shoulders slightly slumped. He looked like a man lost in the fog with no way out. Of course, this one in Act 2. All of his children had learned to act, as it being one of the most important things you can learn. When Aiden entered his room, he fell down on the now clean bed and began laughing uncontrollably. The looks on their faces was priceless. Thank God he had Noah take some pictures from the shadows of the Potters' faces in the Great Hall. Ryden would enjoy those immensely. Meanwhile, Ryden, Sirius, and Remus boarded a Muggle train going cross-country. Ryden had his appearance changed slightly. They just covered up the scar and made his hair shorter. Ryden had an extra seat next to him to prop his leg up on. "So how far away is this place?" Ryden asked, raising an eyebrow. "Pretty far, I'm afraid, and I don't think it's safe for you to travel by magic right now, if you know what I mean," Remus said, pulling his head out of his thick book he was reading at a quick pace. Sirius, on the other hand, was trying to shoot down a fly with his wand, without success. So I'm the reason we're doing this whole Muggle thing. Sorry, guys, I had no idea," Ryden apologized. "I could have traveled if you asked me." Remus coughed. "Excuse me? I don't think you flying out of the Flu connection would work and all side-along apparitions are recorded. Raiden laughed. Of course, Remus. Right as always. Raiden looked over at Sirius, as did Remus. He had just singed his eyebrows and burned his nose when the fly landed on his face, and he tried to blast it. Geez, Sirius. Remus said dryly. You have such great aim. Raiden grabbed Sirius's wand from his hand and shot the fly down with a quick aim, much to Sirius's displeasure. You killed James, Sirius wailed in a very fake way. He then perked up and said cheerfully, well, let's not dwell on the past. He then squished the still smoldering fly under his shoe, making a face at the faint squashing noise that could be heard. All three of them broke down in laughter until Raiden fell out of his seat and began cursing irritably because the leg he landed on was his bad one. After he calmed down and Sirius helped him back onto his seat, much to Raiden's protest, they began talking quietly again. So, they are green? Like completely untrained? Raiden questioned the two older wizards. After receiving nods, he swore, damn, no training? How can this work? I mean, I can't even walk on this fucking leg. How can I demonstrate anything? Raiden growled in frustration. Remus and Sirius glanced at each other. Well, you were a wizard? A projection maybe? Or a memory, which could work? Remus said, rubbing his eyes thoughtfully. Or, you'll think of something. Using my brain hurts. Sirius said, rubbing his head, causing Remus and Raiden to laugh. Raiden more carefully this time, though. You just keep trying, Sirius. It may come to you someday. Raiden choked out. His godfather knew how to lighten the situation, even if he wasn't trying, which Raiden thought he wasn't. We'll be there soon, Raiden. Why don't you try to get some sleep? Remus asked a few minutes later. Raiden nodded. He did feel tired. Raiden awoke to Sirius poking him on the arm. Come on, we're here. I'm up. Raiden yawned and grabbed his crutches. He hobbled down the hall after Remus and Sirius and carefully stepped off the train. People cast him a few looks, some of interest, pity, or for a few girls and guys admiring. Merlin, Raiden, all the ladies are looking at you. Stop being so hot and share the spotlight. Sirius exclaimed, giving Raiden a fake look of hurt. I can't help it if girls find me irresistible. I'm just too damn sexy for my own good. Raiden joked happily, earning a smile and a bark-like laugh from Sirius. Remus, however, was preoccupied. He was looking for their ride, who was supposed to have a sign saying Wolfie. Sirius's cousin sure had a strange sense of humor, but of course she was related to Sirius, so she had to be strange. Raiden looked out over the crowd. He did notice a lot of girls were looking at him. Some of them were at least 20 years older than him, too. Now that was wrong. Raiden spotted a girl, a few years older than him, spotting wild pink hair, a yellow plaid skirt, fishnets, and a purple belly shirt. She blushed, feeling his eyes on her, and held up a sign reading Wolfie. Hey, Remus, Raiden said. What was the sign supposed to say again? Wolfie. Remus growled irritably, thinking Raiden was messing with him again. Okay then, we probably won't go this way. Raiden hobbled towards the girl, seeing her shocked expression and biting back a laugh. Are you here to get Remus and Sirius? Yeah, the girl stated after a moment of thinking. On their ride. Hey, get over here. Raiden yelled. Remus and Sirius raced over, hearing the teens yell and thinking he fell down or something. So why didn't you tell me that our escort was so cute? Raiden asked Sirius. Sirius growled and whacked his godson over the head lightly. Tonks, this idiot on the crutches is Raiden. Raiden, this is Tonks, my cousin. Thank Merlin, she got the good looks of the family. Raiden quipped, ducking away from another smack. Sirius, Remus, Raiden, and Tonks headed outside to where Tonks had parked the car. It turns out Tonks wasn't a very good driver. She doesn't believe in speed limits. Holy cack, Raiden swore. I'm never getting into a car with you again unless I'm driving. Tonks laughed and hopped out of the car. Remus and Sirius seemed rather unfazed about her lack of driving skills. Get that girl some driving lessons. Raiden hobbled after the two men towards a large rundown barn. The area they were in was secluded. No one was around for miles. Raiden looked through the charms and the wards and saw that the barn was really a large stone building. There were other buildings, barracks, a mess hall, training areas, and other buildings that Raiden guessed were inside training areas and other things. So this is it? Raiden said as they entered the building. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? It took us a lot of time and money to build this place just right. Remus said, pushing a button on the wall. The wall opened to be an elevator. They boarded it and exited on the fourth floor. This is our office, Sirius said, opening a door for Raiden to go in. Nice, Raiden said, sitting down on a couch. Sirius lounged on one across from him, while Remus went over to his desk and sat down. He looked at the mound of paperwork on his desk and sighed. A voice came through a small speaker on Remus's desk. Mr. Lupin, Mr. Black, Amelia Bones is here to see you. Thank you, Jen, Remus said, pushing the button to respond. Please tell her to come up. I didn't see a receptionist downstairs. Raiden said, running hand through his hair, which was back to its normal length. We went in the back way. It's a lot easier to get up here. Remus said, making a face when he saw Sirius had fallen asleep on the couch. Lazy git. There was a knock on the door. Raiden poked Sirius with his crutch because he didn't want to get up and poke him. Sirius growled in a dog-like manner, sat up and cracked his neck. Come on in, Mrs. Bones, Remus said politely. The woman came in, looked at Sirius, and then Raiden. She then turned to face Remus. Please sit down, Mrs. Bones, Remus said, putting down his quill. What can I do for you? Oh, please call me Amelia, Bones said as she sat down in a chair in front of Remus's desk. The new recruits aren't making enough progress. We don't know what to do. They have no chance of being fully trained before the end of the year. Bones shook her head. What about that man you were going to bring in, the one you were going to bring back, which is why you didn't use magical transportation? Oh, you must be talking about Raiden. He's sitting on that couch over there. Remus nodded to where Raiden sat. He's the best you could find, unless you count his father, Aiden. Bones looked faint. You mean the Aiden? Yes, the Aiden, Remus chuckled. Raiden was raised and trained by him. I'd have to say he's better than most wizards my age or older. So what's the news at the Ministry? Raiden asked. Any news on the death toll from the battle at Hogwarts? Well, Fudge is extremely close to being kicked out of his position. There is a chance either I or Mr. Weasley will become minister. The death toll is still being counted up, but it's currently at 40. Well, 40 of the light and 84 of the dark. That's thanks to the warriors who are residing at Hogwarts. Your father, I believe. Yes, my dad is there, as well as the rest of my family. Me, though, I unfortunately was a causality of war. Raiden drawled, smiling slightly at her expression. What do you mean? You aren't dead, are you? Bones asked, much to the amusement of Remus and Sirius. Well, legally, I'm dead. Bodily, I'm alive, and well, other than the fact my leg almost got blasted off. Raiden tapped his heavily bandaged leg. Just don't tell anyone, or I'll have to kill you. It's classified information, Raiden said with all seriousness, scaring Bones greatly. I won't tell a soul, Bones said, color returning to her face slightly as Raiden, Remus, and Sirius began laughing. I was just kidding. Sirius and Remus wouldn't let anyone see me who wasn't trustworthy until we figure out what we should do. Raiden said, still chuckling slightly. Well, that's all, Bones said, getting up. Places to go, appearances to make, people to bother, an amount of paperwork on my desk at the Ministry. Good day, Mr. Lupin, Mr. Black, and Mr. Raiden, who is actually dead, so I never saw him here. Bones shook her head. I need to get a stiff drink. Remus and Sirius showed Raiden to their rooms, letting him sleep on a conjured bed in the living room because he refused to take either of their beds. Raiden's 16th birthday was fast approaching, but he didn't want to tell Remus and Sirius what would happen. It was his changing day. As he was now a Black, he'd get some of Sirius's features, talents, and habits. As Aiden's son, he'd get the same things from him. But the fact that remained was an ancient bloodline, hidden in with the Potters. Not many had heard of it. Angels, for lack of a better name, were supposed to have died out 100 years or more ago. Little did they know, the Potter line still carried the ability. You just had to know about it and how to access it. Raiden told both of the men that it would be better to wait until he hit his magic maturation, which was normal on a witch or wizard's 16th birthday, to begin real training. He had not even met the troops. Luckily, he had Sirius run messages to them, saying that he was not on the premises. He also sent instructions telling their latest instructor what drills to run. An example was the dodging drill. Another was simply doing exercises such as push-ups, pull-ups, running, sit-ups, and yoga, much to everyone's surprise. They also were instructed to be taught to meditate by Remus, who learned from Raiden. "So tomorrow is your birthday," Remus said, smiling slightly. Raiden swallowed nervously. They wouldn't be happy when they found out that he had neglected to tell them about the changes. "Yep, I think it should prove to be very interesting," Raiden said. "Living with you two never runs out of strange occurrences." Raiden had been in Sirius's and Remus's quarters and offices, mostly away from everyone. He had gone out a few times, as a muggle of course, just to get out. The battle had occurred almost a month ago, and Raiden's leg was slowly healing, though it was far from being battle-ready again. He had trained slightly in the men's private practice room. He also worked out bench pressing, stretching/yoga, weightlifting, and less strenuous activities that involved little or no leg usage. That night, after Remus and Sirius promised that tomorrow they would celebrate like they never had before, Sirius getting hit soundly on the head by Remus when he said he'd make sure Raiden got pissed drunk off of fire whiskey before his birthday was over. Raiden went into his bedroom, which he got to decorate however he wanted when he officially lived there. The walls were dark blue, almost black, same as the ceiling, which was slightly different though. The ceiling had small silver stars and a moon crescent, of course, painted on it. Raiden stripped down to his boxers, knowing when the changes were complete his cloths would be ruined if he was wearing them. He sat down on his black covered bed and began to meditate. At exactly 11:59 p.m., he felt the first stab of pain course through his body. "Shit," was all he could say before he began to scream as his whole body began to change. This was going to be a long night. Remus awoke to screams, his werewolf-enhanced hearing picking it up easily even through the hastily thrown-up sound wards. He quickly woke Sirius, who was sleeping in his room across the hall. They rushed to Raiden's room to find him curled up on the floor, whimpering in pain. Every few minutes he would let out a soul-wrenching scream of pain. Sirius rushed to his godson's side and held him in his lap. Remus, though, looked at the clock. It was 12:15 a.m. Raiden had officially turned 16. It was then that Remus knew what was going on. "Sirius, oh Merlin, you adopted him in blood and name. Aiden adopted him in love and family. He's also a Potter. All of these changes are literally tearing him apart and rebuilding him," Remus said, helping Sirius heave Raiden's still twitching and whimpering body onto the bed. They spent the next few hours holding him still so that he wouldn't hurt himself. It was right before dawn when his back split open. 2 wings were growing out of his back. "Remus, are those wings?" Sirius asked groggily, almost asleep on his feet after spending the whole night awake. "Yes, Sirius, I do believe he has wings," and he knew this was going to happen too. That's what the wards were for. He didn't want us to do the exact thing we did, worry about him. The wings suddenly disappeared, leaving no mark except a tattoo of black wings on his back, his panther tattoo slightly above it. The bed was covered in blood, sweat, and tears, but the changes were complete. Sirius and Remus levitated him to Remus's room, where they placed him on the werewolf's bed after using a cleaning charm to rid the teen's body of the same things that had covered his bed from the changes. Raiden's face wasn't so round and boyish as was James. It was more chiseled, more defined, as was Aiden's. His hair reached his waist almost. It was silky and soft as was Sirius's. It wasn't wild like Potter's, though. It was perfect. His skin had become slightly paler, almost the same shade as Sirius's. They wouldn't know, until he woke up, that his eyes weren't as bright and childish, for now they were flecked with silver, making them deeper and more beautiful. The wings were a difference as well. They had disappeared for now, but the 2 wizards didn't know if they could or would come back. Sirius fell asleep, holding his godson in his arms. While Remus slept in the chair he conjured next to the bed. Sirius awoke to the smell of something really good. It was then he noticed Raiden was gone. He quickly woke up Remus, and they followed the smell into the kitchen. There was Raiden standing at the stove without the use of crutches. He seemed to be taller and had more muscles than he had before. The ones that he had were better defined. Raiden's scar on his back was also gone, leaving his pale flesh only marred by his tattoos and his cursed scar on his forehead. "Geez, Rai, you should be resting, Sirius stopped in mid-sentence as Raiden sat food in front of him. He forgot all about what he was going to say and dove face first into his food. Remus wasn't as easily distracted, though. What happened last night? Remus asked, even though he had a pretty good idea of what took place. My 16th birthday, Raiden simply answered. What about those wards? And not telling us, you could tell us anything. I mean, hearing you scream like that took a few years off my life, I think. Remus said, digging into his food. Raiden also began eating. Well, I'm used to taking care of my own problems, Raiden said, as he shoved a forkful of eggs into his mouth. How can you walk on that leg? Remus asked, taking a sip of his coffee, wanting a pickup because he was still exhausted from staying up all night. I mean, here Sirius and I are almost falling asleep in our breakfast. Remus paused. Never mind, falling asleep in our breakfast is more like it. Sirius had fallen asleep, his head now resting on his clean plate. Well, my new abilities include healing. I guess that took care of everything, Raiden said, standing up and stretching. He was still clothed in his boxers, he noticed absently. Of course, they were all men here. With that, though, Tonks rushed in the door. She skidded to a stop in front of the table, running smack into a chair which fell on Sirius's foot, waking him up. It was a heavy chair. Tonks, what's wrong? Remus asked, standing up. There's an attack, Diagon Alley. There was a Hogwarts staff meeting being held at the time. We think the Death Eaters are trying to get at the Potters. Tonks stated simply. It was then that she noticed Raiden. The fact that he was clothed in almost nothing came to her a second later, and she blushed crimson and tried to look away. Let's go, Tonks. Tell the A-team to get moving. Sirius, get dressed, you too. Remus trailed off, seeing Raiden already dressed and ready to go. Angel, Raiden stated. He had figured out his new name early that morning. Yeah, Angel, you okay to battle? Remus asked, throwing his robe on, which he summoned. I'll meet you there, Alpha. Just look for the guy with the wings. Angel said, wings sprouting as Remus, Tonks, and Sirius watched in awe. The window opened when Angel lifted his hand up to it. He jumped out, and Tonks screamed. As the three rushed to the window, they saw the teen flying away, black wings carrying him swiftly towards Diagon Alley. Angel focused on his power ad, then on his destination. He found himself just outside London city limits. He was making good time. His pure white robe, trimmed in emerald green, flowed around him. The picture of a black rose still adorned the back of the robe, though. Not many people were looking up at the sky, but the few that did reported seeing an angel or a large bird or something flying over London at an almost impossible speed. Just as he arrived, he saw a large number of Death Eaters destroying all in their paths. A small bunch of wizards had up shield spells, but they weren't doing much good. The children were utterly helpless, not being able to applicate or use any magic. Screams filled the air as people were struck down. He saw a girl about his age shoot a curse at a Death Eater, heedless of the fact she could be expelled. She was focusing so hard, she didn't notice the one behind her until he put her under Kiriko. She screamed in pain as it felt as if her nerve endings, every one of them, were exploding. Angel swooped down, swinging his sword. He was a very imposing sight, needless to say. He effortlessly chopped the Death Eater's head off, leaving its body twitching on the ground in after-death convulsions. You okay? Angel asked, picking up the girl and flying her over to a safe spot. I'll be back. Angel took off again. His great black wings spread wide, bringing terror and death to the Death Eaters who got in his way. He was forced to land once his left wing got his with a weak stunner. It needed a few minutes to get the feeling back to it before it was safe to fly on again. Luna Lovegood watched as her savior flew away. He was a real angel, and no one could call her loony for saying that. Angel swooped down in a battle again, his mind focused on one thing. Kill. It must have been scary, seeing an angel swooping down on you, bring his sword up to strike you down. Angel almost laughed when someone screamed, "It's the Angel of Death." Meanwhile, the Order of the Wolf and the Order of the Phoenix had finally arrived. Remus shook his head when he heard a piercing scream behind him and turned to see Angel swooping down on a Death Eater, going in for the kill. Sirius was shooting a stunner at a Death Munchkin when he saw an almost identical thing happen. He smiled slightly. His godson sure knew how to scare the shit out of people. He had so many mysteries. Sirius felt a presence behind him, and he turned to see his cousin Bella. Come and play Whittle Siri. Sirius growled. He hated when she talked like that. She was of course considered evil, but she still acted and talked like a 3-year-old. Coming, oh dear cousin of mine. As Sirius and Bella duked it out, Remus and Malfoy were battling in front of the ice cream shop, now on fire from a very off-course curse. Remus was winning, though it was extremely close. Angel swooped down on yet another Death Eater, impaling him with his ever-trusty sword. The Death Eater let out a high-pitched scream before dying. Angel winced. His hearing had improved as well as his eyesight. That noise and all of the other noises were causing him some major irritation. He saw some Phoenix members trapped in an alleyway by a bunch of Death Eaters. They were easily outnumbered, and some were injured. There were 5 of them, 3 men and 2 women. Angel immediately landed in front of them, wings outstretched, to intimidate the Black Cloak fiends and to protect the Phoenix members. "It's an angel," one of the slower Death Muppets cried. "No shit, Sherlock," Angel said, smirking. He held out his hand and blasted them out of the mouth of the alleyway. He winced as he heard a smash as a few of them went through the large display window across the street. He might have put a little bit too much power behind it. "Whoops," Angel said sarcastically as he took off again, leaving behind the Phoenix members, staring after him, mouths open. Angel really was an angel of death. He had totaled over 19 deaths and 32 injured Death Eaters. The battle was easily won by the Wolves and the Phoenix, though the Wolves did the majority of the work. As the Wolves left, Angel remembered the girl on the roof and flew up to retrieve her. "I'm sorry about the wait, miss," Angel stated politely, picking the girl up and flying her safely to the ground where her frantic father awaited her. "Oh, thank you," the man gushed. "I couldn't live without her." Sure, no problem," Angel said, embarrassed. "I have a saving people thing." "You mean a hero complex," Remus said, placing a hand on Angel's shoulder. "Hey, Alpha, saw you fighting. Are you getting old or what?" Angel kidded lightheartedly. "Well, I'm not as young as I used to be, but on a full moon, if you're not careful, something large and furry will jump out from under your bed, kiddo." "Haha, very funny," Angel drawled, as the man looked on in amusement and the girl was holding back her giggles. "Well, if we're done here," Angel said, getting ready to spread his wings and take off. "Wait," Remus said. "Angel, this is Don Lovegood, owner of the Quibbler, and this is his daughter Luna, who, as I saw, you have already met." "Well, it's nice to meet you, sir. I love your magazine. I was really interested in the article about the Snargles," Angel said. "Really? I am putting a follow-up article in the next edition. We actually have a picture," Don said excitedly, eyes shining. "Wow, I can't wait. I hope I can get my subscription in on time. I've been so busy, I can't find time to owl it," Angel said, smiling. "Do you think you could take it now if it's not too much trouble?" "Sure. In fact, I'll do better. I, Don Edward Lovegood, present you, whatever your name is, a free subscription to the Quibbler." Don bowed to Angel. "That's really nice of you. But I really can't give you a name. I'm just known as Angel." Angel ran a hand through his hair. "That's fine. I'll just give it to Mr. Lupin here when he stops by the office every week," Dan said, nodding to Remus. "Since I get the idea you two are chummy." "Yeah, chummy, all right. Well, I have to get going. It was nice to meet you, Mr. Lovegood, Miss Lovegood. Good day." Angel took off, happy to get away from the attention he was receiving. "He's a shy one, isn't he?" Don asked, putting an arm around his daughter's shoulders in a fatherly way. "No, not really. He actually a complete prat most of the times," Sirius said, grinning as he walked up to the threesome who were watching the winged teenager fly away. "Ah, Mr. Black, nice to see you again," Don said, sticking out a hand for Sirius to shake. "I have a proposition for you two gentlemen if you would like to go to the office and discuss it." "Why don't we go back to headquarters? It's more private," Remus suggested intelligently. H could tell this was a delicate issue by the way the man's eyes were shifting around warily. "Yes, that'd be fine. Is it all right if Luna comes with us?" "Yes, of course," Sirius injected. "She's welcome to hang out with Angel while we have our meeting." "Sure, but I was wondering if he really is an angel or he just calls himself Angel," Luna said, her dreamy facade falling for a moment, as her eyes flashed with pure intelligence. "He's not an angel, but well, it's kind of hard to explain. He's mostly human, though," Sirius said, handing Luna a portkey since she could not apprecate yet. "He calls himself Angel as well for lack of a better name. He isn't very imaginative. Oh, okay, Luna managed to say before disappearing with a pop. She found herself in a nice office with 2 leather couches and 2 desks and chairs. Sitting on one of the couches was Angel, but he didn't have wings. Hi, Luna said, plopping down on the couch across from him. He smiled, taking in her long, almost white blonde hair, sky blue eyes, and strange clothing. She was wearing a lime green skirt with red circular, a pin that read "I believe in Snargles," and a star-shaped pin that read "Quibbler." She had on orange and blue striped tights and yellow rain boots. Her top was a purple tank top with showed some skin, and she had on a bottle cap necklace and radish earrings. "It's nice to see you again, Luna," Angel said as the other 3 wizards walked into the room. "I'm glad you found your way back, Twerp," Sirius said, swatting at Angel's head playfully. "Well, I'm not directionally challenged like some people, mister. This is so the route to Easton." Angel shot back, smirking at Sirius's lack of response. "Why don't you show Luna around the grounds a bit, Angel?" Remus suggested, settling down into his chair behind the desk with a contented sigh, while Dawn took a seat in front of it and Sirius sat on the corner of the desk. "Okay." Angel shrugged and walked out the door, motioning for Luna to follow him. "So, Luna, do you go to Hogwarts?" Angel asked as they walked past the stables. "Yes, but I don't like it much. No one likes me. Daddy won't let me transfer, though. He says Hogwarts is the best school there is." Luna said sadly. "Why doesn't anyone like you?" Angel asked. "You are awesome, and your dad owns the Quibbler. I would think that's grounds for popularity." Luna laughed lightly. "Popularity? That's the last thing I need to worry about. It's the fact that people think I'm weird for believing in things like Snargles and Morley Puffs. Well, I believe in them. I've actually seen a Snargle last Christmas, I believe," Angel said, sitting down under an old tree. Luna joined him. "You actually saw one? Was it mistletoe?" "Yes, my sister Kaylee caught me under it, and I had one fly into my ear. I got it out, but no one believes me." "Wow, that's amazing," Luna said, looking at Angel in awe. "Well, not many people would believe. I'm actually sitting next to a guy who had wings about 20 minutes ago." Angel laughed. "I'm sure they wouldn't. People are like that, though. I just learned to ignore them. They'll eventually get bored and go away." "Not my house," Cuna said rather bitterly. "And Potter and company. They steal my stuff, call me names, and push me around. I guess it could be worse, but I still hate it. They've been doing it ever since my first year." "Well, Potter is a bastard. I know that for a fact. He takes after his parents. Boy, are they fucked up. Anyways, Luna, do you ever fight back? Do you stand up for yourself?" "Well, no, my father said I should just try to get along with them. The only people who are nice to me are Ginny Weasley and Neville Longbottom from Gryffindor. Well, you have to tell them to stop, push them back, stand up for yourself, and don't let them walk all over you." Angel said, "Watch this." A bunch of teenage boys, probably a few years older than Angel, were strutting up. Angel knew their type. He'd seen them before as well, pushing younger and older people alike around. "Hey you, what do you think you are doing? This is our territory. Get lost," a beefy young man said, trying to sound superior. "Hey, I'm talking to you." The boy sputtered, seeing Angel's eyes fixed on a spot to his right. "Ah, were you talking to me? I didn't hear you," Angel said, smirking slightly. "Freak, I said clear out." The boy said boldly. Angel growled, and in a flash had the boy by the throat, pinned neatly against the tree before any of his cronies could react. Never call me that, you jitbag." Angel let go of the boy and let him slide to the ground like he didn't have any bones. "I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Angel, your new worst nightmare and commander and personal slave driver, better known as a drill sergeant. If you think you hate me now, wait until I have you greenies run 5 miles as a warm-up." All of the teens in front of him had a look of hate and fear in their eyes. "Now go fuck off. I'm trying to have a conversation, and take that knob with you," Angel growled, motioning at the weak boy on the ground behind him. After they scampered off, Angel sat down. "That's how you do it." "Wow. I don't think I could do that, though. Well, I'm not exactly a people person, and I hate to yell. I usually just sit around and think," Luna said, smiling. "Hey, that's all right. I wasn't a people person when I was younger, but my dad worked on it with me, and now, well, you see the results." Angel cracked his neck and stood up, offering Luna a hand up as well, which she accepted. "Thanks," Luna said. I never got to thank you for saving me earlier, so thanks again. No problem, as Remus said. I have a hero complex. Angel started off towards the offices again. Luna giggled. I wonder if I have a hero complex, and if I had one, what would I name it? Bob, Angel said. Mr. Lupin was right. You have no imagination. Fine, my non-existent hero complex is named Bob, and yours can be Flower. Luna's eyes danced with mischief as she took off running. Flower. Hey, at least I gave yours a half-decent name. Luna skipped into the building after Angel, a look of sheer happiness on her face. Angel knew he had been outdone by a girl, and he didn't mind at all. If you didn't know better, you'd think he was in love. They took the elevator, Angel sneaking glances in Luna's direction all the while. Luckily, she hadn't noticed. She was back to her thinking. Angel knocked on the office door. Who is there? Sirius asked from inside. The Easter Bunny, Angel said sarcastically, opening the door. He flopped onto one of the couches, while Dawn motioned for his daughter to follow him out into the hallway. So, what did you think of Luna? Remus asked slyly. She's nice, Angel replied absently, not seeing the trap. Nice? I think you may think a little higher of her than nice. I can practically smell it on you, Remus said, smirking. Angel's eyes darted around. I didn't mean that, you idiot. Remus rolled his eyes, finally catching on to what Angel thought he was talking about. Phew, just was checking. Angel laughed at the look both of the men gave him. Huh? Sirius asked, confused. Don't blow a brain cell over it. I'm sure in a few years you'll figure it out. Angel mocked. Sirius was still scratching his head, though. Okay, now since that's over, let's get down to business. Angel, you know how we paid Mr. Lovegood for information and printing false information on us, correct? Remus asked seriously. Angel nodded. Mr. Lovegood put his and his daughter's life on the line with each article he wrote. Yes, he's very brave to do that. Not many would risk it. Angel said, placing his elbows on his knees is a thoughtful gesture. He doesn't want money for it anymore. He wants us to keep Luna safe. Things are getting extremely dangerous. He has received numerous death threats, curse letters, and had his house and office vandalized many times. He feels Luna's life could be in danger. While she is here, he wants her to learn how to fight so she can protect herself. He doesn't want a repeat of Diagon Alley. Remus rubbed his eyes tiredly. Angel idly noticed he was getting wrinkles around them from doing that so much and from a lack of sleep. Sure, that'd be great. Who'd train her? Angel asked. Well, we were hoping you would, along with the other new recruits, of course, but spend some extra time with her, which I have a feeling you would even if I didn't ask. Remus laughed, seeing Angel blush. Ok, yeah, I can do that. Angel stammered, trying to get over his embarrassment. It's okay, kid. Siri and I definitely know what you feel. Especially Sirius. He was, still is, a woman's man. Remus and Angel laughed. Angel could tell that from the start. Angel led Luna to her rooms after the final arrangements were made. Her rooms were a few doors down from his, right next to Tonk's room. Luna's room was in a light shade of purple with white carpet. She put a bedspread with multicolored stars on it on her bed and put up posters advertising the Quibbler and some of her other interests. The next day, Angel, Tonks, and Luna headed down to the training area. Angel had the message relayed to the new recruits last night that they were to be up and ready by 6 o'clock in the morning. The new recruits were sprawled around on the ground, even though it was still wet from the morning's dew. Attention! Everyone up! Get your lazy asses into gear. This isn't a free-for-all or a daycare. Angel bellowed, alarming Tonks slightly, but Luna had seen this side of him before. This is Tonks. You may know her. She's going to help me train you greenies. Angel paused. And this is Luna. She'll be joining you. And I don't want to hear that you have been treating her badly, or you will know what it feels like to run until you pass out. Got it? All of the new recruits nodded, some sending glances towards the new girl under Angel's protection. Luna blushed and joined their ranks. I am Angel. You will soon learn how to fight, defend, and many other things, but first you need to get in shape. I've never seen a sorrier bunch of so-called new recruits. I think 6 laps around the grounds will do it, but stretch first, go it. There were some groans and nods, but everyone complied. Some sent Angel evil looks, though. He knew he had his work cut out for him. The first thing they did after they finished their run was learn to meditate. A lot of them snorted at this. They were supposed to learn to fight, not think of happy thoughts. One of the boys, the surly and rude one from earlier, Angel noted, voiced this thought out loud. We should be learning to fight, not be doing something as boring and pointless as this, the young man stated with a smirk. He seemed to have gotten over his earlier embarrassment, though he still bore the bruises around his neck. He didn't cover them completely with the concealing charm. Raiden thought to himself, messy spell work. Well, is it? Yes, will happy thoughts help you create upon Trinus? Do you know how hard it is to concentrate on those thoughts when a slimy, smelly motherfucker of a Dementor is standing over you, ready to give you the kiss? All of the happy thoughts you can seem to pull up so easily, well, they will be gone, sucked from you like water through your fingers. Then where will you be? Oh yes, I forgot. A mere shell suffering all eternity without a soul. That sounds lovely, doesn't it? Angel shot back smartly. And another 2 laps for patronizing your commander. Oh, for that look, you can scrub the toilets on the 3rd floor without magic. I'll supply the toothbrush, so don't worry. Any more? I didn't think so. Angel cracked his neck. Anything anyone wants to get off their backs before we start? No one said anything. Good. Now pair up, we're going to practice basic spell work. 2 hours later, Angel released the now exhausted troops and headed back to his rooms to shower and change. He hoped Remus and Sirius would give him permission to take Luna and Tonks into town tonight. Luna needed some clothing because she didn't have much that was suitable to be fighting in except her uniform. He needed Tonks for the whole girl shopping stuff. Hey Remus, can I take Tonks and Luna into town? Luna needs some stuff. Angel asked the older wizard who was drinking a cup of coffee at the table in the living quarters. Sure, just have them back by their curfew, Remus said, barely looking up from his coffee, which seemed to have hypnotized him from its brown, watery depths, where he was in deep thought. What's up, Remus? Angel asked, concerned. Is it old Valdi? No. Angel, there is so much you don't know. You aren't supposed to know. I can't keep it from you. I can't. I won't see you hurt. Angel pulled up a chair, sensing Remus had to get something off his mind, and paid rapt attention. There is a prophecy about you. It just came to our attention. It seems you must defeat the Dark Lord. Well, that, or you will die. It's like this. Kill him, or he will kill you. Remus closed his eyes. He couldn't look at Angel after delivering such potentially damaging news. So, you didn't know that already? Wow, I've known that for years, ever since I began training with Aiden. Just chill, Remus. You are giving yourself unnecessary gray hairs. Go out and get drunk or laid or something. Jeez, you look like shit, no offense. Just relax. If I'd known you didn't already know, I'd have told you. Angel stood up, clapped the older wizard on the shoulder, and bounced out of the room. Huh? Remus said, simply watching Angel leave. I wish I knew how that kid's mind works. Then I'd know everything. I heard that wolf boy. Angel yelled from the hall. Remus shook his head. Angel's hearing was as good as or better than his. The kid was a walking freak show, in a good way, of course. Luna, Tonks, Angel yelled, exiting the building. We can go. The only problem was there were no girls. Shit, was all Angel could say before beginning to search. He didn't seem to hear the giggling from the bushes behind him, or he pretended that he didn't. If I was a girl, where would I hide? Angel said out loud, for the benefit of his 2 gigglers. After a few minutes of fake searching, Angel cast a wandless disillusionment charm on himself and snuck up behind the bush the girls were hiding in. Where is he? Tonks asked Luna nervously. I don't know. I don't think he heard us. Luna was cut off when Tonks screamed. She was being dragged out of the bush by an invisible force. Luna, help me! Tonks screeched, much to the now invisible Angel's amusement. Luna grabbed Tonks' hands, only to find herself being dragged out as well. She put up a fight, though. When they were clear of the brush, they were hit with a tickling charm. When they finally caught a break in the charm, a voice said, Say mercy. And never, you dinglebat. Tonks managed to gasp out, seeing Angel there in his full grinning glory. Fine, you asked for it. Angel doubled the charm, and Tonks barely managed to gasp. Mercy, mercy. Okay, Luna, do you give up? Angel asked, amused at the response he got. It was a negative. I'll never given you dush bag. Fine. Oh, never mind, let's go. I'm letting you off easy. I don't mind jokes as you just saw. But while we are off grounds, don't disappear. All right? Angel asked, helping Luna off the ground. Oh, sure that was just a joke though. I thought you were a crumpled horn snortstack. Woo, that was scary. I think you got us better than we got you. Luna said, brushing off her patch-covered jeans and flowery top. Tonks on the other hand smacked Angel hard on the head. Merlin, you scared the shit out of me. Never do that again. She scowled at the patch of mud on the front of her Puddlemere United Quidditch jersey and her torn jeans. She was about to attempt a cleaning charm when Luna stopped her. You better let me do that. You know how you are with cleaning. Charms. Luna quickly applied the charm, ridding Tonks of the mud, and the three headed down to the garage where they could borrow a car. Angel straight out told Tonks she would never drive a car with him in, near, or around it until she got proper driving lessons and learned to stay within the speed limit. She doesn't recognize Angel as riding because the changes made him look almost unrecognizable, and she had only met him once. She just thinks Sirius and Remus had warned him of her driving. She pouted until Angel put the top down, the car was a convertible, and let her choose the station on the WWN Wizarding Wireless Network. She and Luna sang along with every song they knew. Angel didn't, though. He hated singing anywhere but in the shower where no one could hear him. When he said this, Tonks remarked, "How do you know you are alone in the shower?" Needless to say, that was the end of Angel's singing for a while. He also kept peeking out of the shower every few minutes to make sure no one else was in there with him. Tonks and Luna got a good laugh out of the paranoia they gave him. When they finally reached the town, a small wizarding village about 50 miles away from London, they got out of the car and stretched. Angel didn't have time to enjoy himself, though, because the two girls immediately ran into the nearest store after yelling for him to follow. Angel shook his head. This was going to be a long trip. 3 hours later, and countless bags shoved into Angel's arms, they retired to an ice cream place and grabbed a cone. Angel had shrunk all of the packages as soon as they were given to him and placed them into his pockets earlier, so carting around bags was no problem. They all relaxed and ate their ice cream in silence. Luna growled, seeing 3 girls from her school approaching. "Loony, what a surprise." "It's Luna," Luna said quietly, willing them to go away silently, so she could enjoy the rest of her trip. "Well, Loony, I see you've finally made some friends," the girl continued, ignoring what Luna said. "Good for you, Loony, and some fine friends they are." The girl raised an eyebrow at Angel, checking him out and liking what she saw. Angel sent Luna a look saying, "Stand up for yourself," but she simply looked down at the ground. Angel could see she had lost all of the self-confidence she had built up over the past few days, so he decided he would jump in before Tonks threw any punches. "Leave her alone, bitch. Don't you have something better to do, you bean flicker? Merlin, you'd think your only life is torturing people who are different. Well, fuck off. Tearing Luna down like that isn't right." Angel snarled angrily. The girls looked scared. That was when the girls' escorts, also known as their boyfriends, arrived. "Hey, get away from my girlfriend, you Death Eater," one of the boys yelled. It was Weasley. The girls were Granger and the Patil twins. The boys happened to be Potter, Weasley, and a boy named McConnor. "If I was a Death Eater, do you think I would be standing here in the middle of a town in broad daylight without my wand out? Don't you think I'd be blasting these 3 dizzy bins to heaven come? Don't you think I'd be blowing you 3 douchebags into nothing but dust? Wait, I forgot. You have to have at least half a brain to be a Death Eater. Too bad, or I'd ask you what you 3 are doing out in the daylight." Angle sneered, making everyone take a step back. His look could easily outdo Snape's worst. "What did you just say? Don't you recognize me? I'm the boy who lived, the hero of the wizarding world, while you're only some sleazy dumbass who thinks he's all that. You are probably a Death Eater anyways. This will fix you." Tyler yelled for his guards who appeared out of thin air. They were Order of the Phoenix members. He said he was a Death Eater and he was going to blow us all up. Tyler exclaimed. Clearly they thought this boy could not lie. "Stop right there, you 3. One of the wizards said, taking a step towards Tonks, Luna, and Angel. "You are under arrest for being a suspected Death Eater." Angel grinned roguishly, pushing the girls behind him in case things got messy. "Ha! Us Death Munchkins. Sure thing my ass. Now if you don't mind, we have to be getting back home." Angel finished coldly, making two of the members shiver slightly. The Auror, as it seemed the forward and seemingly fearless individual who was trying to arrest them, boldly stepped, resolute in arresting these Death Eaters for threatening their savior. I can't let you do that. Give up now, and we will not have to hurt you. The Auror raised his wand, and Angel spread his wings. I'd like to see you try to take me. Angel laughed, turned, grabbed the two girls, and flew off before any of the wizards or witches in the local vicinity could react. He landed near their car, which they thoughtfully parked in a rather unpopulated area, and drove back in almost complete silence. Angel fuming over how the Aurors took Tyler's word for everything, Luna for how she was treated and how Angel was treated, and Tonks over everything. Well, this was an interesting trip. I'm not sure if I want to continue with the trip home or skip to the other part of Ryden's family, who are still at Hogwarts training the fake boy who lived. Please don't forget to review. CH13. Sorry about the delay, guys, but there was a bug on my account or something, and I had to email the site to ask if they could fix it before I could post this chapter. Thanks for the reviews. Keep them coming to D-Dwelling. I'd love to see the picture you drew. I also left you a message. Yeah. I don't own anything, so yeah. If I own Harry Potter, I wouldn't have to do any Christmas shopping, growling. Only 6 more laps to go. Cried, yelled at the almost collapsed form of Tyler Potter. B, but you said I only had to do 4 more. He whined pitifully. Cried smiled viciously. Well, I'm in a bitcha mood today, so move it. Tyler sniffled and huffed a bit, but continued on his lap around the track in the room of requirements. He was only on his 2nd lap, Freya noted idly. He had no reason to be complaining yet. Everyone could see how Ryden couldn't stand his brother. He had to be the biggest mollycoddled, dim-witted wizard to ever walk the face of the earth. Why, I only had to do 4, cried. Loki and Anubis mimicked in a babyish voice, causing Freya to giggle madly. They sounded just like the little dipshit. You two got it down, AAT. Now keep it down, we've got company. Vishnu ordered, seeing Dumbledore and the potheads walk in. How is his training going? Dumbledore asked Vishnu. Lily and James went off to cuddle and baby their son, who was now complaining loudly about his unfair treatment and how he should be treated like royalty or something because he was the boy who lived, of course. Slow to put it the nicest way. We're losing our patience with his incompetence and lack of work ethic. He whines, complains, and doesn't do half the work. Scotty jumped in, unable to stand the boy any longer. Cried shook her head slightly. Freya had to learn to keep her mouth shut, even though she was usually right. She said everything no one else would say, but all thought. You must be exaggerating, Dumbledore said gravely, not really asking a question. Nope, he's ignorant. That one, not gonna last a minute in battle. Freya continued, oblivious or just ignoring the looks she was receiving from her brothers and sisters. Oh! Dumbledore looked disappointed. If he was expecting the chosen one to be better than Ryden, he was sorely disappointed. Tyler says these children, James snarled the last word, are being mean to him and calling him names. James cast the teens a reckless look, not noticing how much anger was in their eyes. I want them removed from the training of my son, and I want Aiden to teach him. We only want the best for our little Tai-Tai. All of the warrior teens winced at the childish name, but almost snarled or laughed at the petty accusations. Dumbledore frowned, and then put an arm over James' shoulders, leading him out of the room. Lily was talking quietly with Tyler, whipping sweat off his forehead with a handkerchief she pulled out of her light blue robe pocket. All of the teens grouped up, discussing what they should do next quietly. We know Dumbles is going to convince them to make the little bastard train. So what's our next move? Vishnu asked after a second's thought. Well, we can't make him run much longer. His legs will probably collapse. Freya giggled at the thought. How about basic sparring? That would be fun. Everyone nodded in agreement and began summoning floor mats, so when they demonstrated or threw the little bugger, no one would get hurt. We decided that Tyler must have been overreacting a bit, Dumbledore said, returning from his little chat with James. Tyler is a sensitive boy. You have to be careful with what you say and how you say it to him. All of the teens nodded, sniggering inside their stone facades. After Dumbledore and the Potters left about 20 minutes later, the teens made sure Tyler left with more pulled muscles than an athlete who ran a triathlon without stretching. He limped back to his rooms, and everyone began their real training, joking about Tyler every few minutes or so. After Aiden and Bothead arrived, their real training began, and they left more tired than they had been in quite some time. They were all still missing Raiden, but knew he was happy with his godfather. The last they heard, he had been asked to train the Wolves' new recruits. That would be a handful. They hoped that they would be invited down for the holidays or Raiden would come up there, though they highly doubted it. They might return home for the holidays, but that was a long ways off. I miss him, Carla said as she and Gavin were getting ready for bed that night. Raiden? So do I. He's gone, though. I hope he is happier. I think we will see him soon, though, Gavin finished mysteriously before sliding under the sheets. Gavin, why don't you ever tell me anything without some kind of riddle attached to it? It makes me wonder why I married you. Carla growled as she put out the lights with a wave of her hand. It makes life more interesting, my dear. And besides, if you never married me, you would have wound up with some dim-witted idiot like that Lockhart fellow who taught here a few years ago. No brawn, no brain, but plenty of looks. Gavin laughed. Then Carla laughed too, snuggling up to her husband. All was forgiven and forgotten for now. As Kaylee flopped down into bed, her pink PJs comfy and pink socks cozy on her feet, she began to worry about her brother. A tear escaped her eye, but she quickly reached up to wipe it off. It wasn't safe to keep in close contact with Raiden, just in case their mail was being monitored, which they believed was true. They wouldn't want anyone to know they faked Raiden's death. She sighed, dug out her favorite stuffed animal, a pink bear named Mr. Fluffy, who Raiden had won for her at a fair when they were 10, and snuggled up under her violently pink sheets. The next morning, they headed down to the Great Hall, as usual. No one except the Potters, the professors, the caretaker, and a few of Tyler's friends' fans were there, since it was the summer holidays. The whole castle seemed empty. It was quite depressing, yet utterly refreshing at the same time. Dumbledore walked up to their table as they began to eat. Mr. Aiden asked me to tell you that you can go to Hogsmeade today, but you must be back in time for dinner. He suggested you stock up on whatever you need, because there wouldn't be much time after this to go. The new term will be starting soon, and you must go over the new safety precautions and evacuation procedures, as well as train Tyler. All of the teens nodded in understanding, and Dumbledore wandered over to the Potter's table. How has your training been, my boy? Dumbledore asked Tyler, who was stuffing his face with food at the moment, pig that he was. James glanced at Dumbledore before returning to his paper, and Lily continued to try and wipe Tyler's face every 3 seconds. Tyler's friends Hermione and Ron, however, were chatting quietly. Good, Tyler said around a mouthful of eggs. Well, that is wonderful. Do try and pick a few things up. They may be young, but they seem to know what they are doing. There is no doubt in my mind that you can outshine them if you really try. Dumbledore smiled his sickening grandfatherly smile and continued on his merry way towards his office. Ian shook his head. That man was defiantly off his rocker. That boy couldn't learn anything even if it hit him on the head with a brick. He sighed and continued eating his toast. He missed Raiden's sarcasm, and even his bad attitude in the morning thing. It just wasn't the same without his brother around. Jenna thanked Merlin that Tyler wasn't coming with them. He complained way too much. She went back to their rooms and threw on a pair of low-slung jeans and a white fitted sleeveless shirt. She dabbed on some lip gloss and met up with the others in the common room. Kaylee was wearing her usual pink shirt, pink makeup, pink shoes, and pink paint-spotted jeans. She sure does love the color pink. They waked to Hogsmeade in about 10 or 15 minutes. They decided to enjoy their freedom and take their time. It's nice out, Glenn commented, looking up at the nearly cloudless sky. Yeah, Ian agreed, hitching up his knee-length camouflage shorts which were sliding down his waist. I'm so glad we don't need to deal with that Potter brat right now. Geez, he never shuts his lard mouth. Mariah sighed. I wish it was snowing, though. Winter is much better than summer. You're right, Mariah. You are totally nuts. Winter is so cold and wet and nasty. I definitely prefer warmer weather, though it is warmer at home. Kaylee, I hope we can get some time to lie out and get a tan today. The sun is perfect. Jenna said breathlessly, knowing Mariah loved the winter because of her element, which also caused her sometimes frosty attitude. Yeah, I'd also like to see that Potter kid squirm, us in our bikinis. Perfect way for revenge. It's like you can look but you can't touch. Kaylee said, causing everyone to laugh, especially the girls. Mariah wasn't big on tanning because of her pale skin, which burned easily. She didn't like the sun that much anyways. When they reached town, the girls headed towards the nearest clothing shop. Well, that is Jenna and Kaylee anyways. They physically dragged Mariah off behind them. The boys headed towards the candy shop. "What about this shirt?" Jenna asked Kaylee. She was holding a light blue long-sleeved fitted shirt. "That'll look great, but I think you should get it slightly darker, so it matches your eyes better," Kaylee replied. Mariah snorted in disgust and kept looking through the shoe section, trying to find a pair of half-decent battle boots. Meanwhile, the boys were stashing their candy in their pockets, using a wandless shrinking charm when no one was around. They then headed over to the ice cream place, which wasn't usually open to Hogwarts students because they were only at school during the colder months. They sat down and ordered. Ian then put a secrecy charm up, and they began going over battle tactics and other things. "I'm surprised we haven't heard from Ryden. I mean, you'd think he would owl or something every once in a while," Glenn said, taking a bite of ice cream. "I think he's been pretty busy. I heard Gavin and Carla talking about how he is training some of the wolves and how he might have a love interest. It seems they talked a few times with Remus and Sirius about Ryden," Noah said, grinning slightly. "Who? Who's he going out with?" The two boys cried simultaneously. "I don't know. No names were mentioned," Noah said, taking a huge bite of his runny vanilla ice cream. "Oh, when we see him again, he's in for it," Ian snarled in a mock, angered kind of way. They took down the charms, headed over to where the girls were still shopping, picked a few things up, and headed back to the castle. They still had a training session that evening, and two of the girls still wanted to run as well. "Duck!" Cried yelled angrily at Tyler, who barely missed being hit with a kick to the head. "Merlin, don't you listen? You're supposed to be on defense, not offense," Scotty bellowed, storming over to where Freya and Tyler were sparring. Freya was going super easy on him, but he still stunk up the floor. "What in bloody hell do you mean?" Tyler yelled back. "I ducked, I didn't get hit." "Well, you left yourself open and defenseless. When you duck, you have to put effort into it. Say I had a sword, and you ducked, I could just bring it down, and what next?" "You are dead," Scotty roared. "If you put some fucking effort into the duck, you could roll out of harm's way using the momentum to move. If you don't, you're screwed." Tyler almost began to cry as Scotty yelled. It was extremely funny, yet disturbing because this was the boy who was supposed to save them from the evil Voldemort. "You call yourself a hero?" Scotty howled. "You're an OTHIN, but a wimp without mommy and daddy to hide behind." Freya knew she had to stop this before it got out of hand, so she calmly stepped up, grabbed Scotty by the arm, and dragged her out of the room. There was silence for a few seconds until Clyde clapped her hands and said, "Well, let's get back to work then." "Wahoo. Yeah, I tortured Tyler. This chapter was a bit boring, but I think I'll add a ton more action in the next few, so don't worry. There might even be some romance. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Please don't forget to review. Hugs to all. Kaho muy bon. Sorry about how frickin' short this is, but I've been so busy. I've barely had time to sleep, in all honesty. I hope you like this chapter. It's romance for the most part, but the next will be action. I'm sure of it. Thanks for the reviews, guys, and more Tyler bashing will come. I don't own HP. If I did, I wouldn't have to stay up half the night trying to figure out where this story should go next. I could just spend the day thinking about it and not school. Hugs for all. In the last few weeks before Luna had to return to Hogwarts, she and Angel had become rather close. When I mean close, I mean, "Hey, Luna." Angel trailed off. "What?" Luna asked, putting some more fluorescent orange nail polish onto her toenails. "Well, I think I'm in love with you," Angel said in a rush. He had never felt the way about a girl like he did Luna. He always felt normal and whole around the girl. He also felt insecure at the moment. What if she rejected him? "Huh?" Angel gulped audibly. "I said, I think I'm in love with you." "Oh, really?" Luna asked, putting her nail polish cap back on. Angel nodded. "Good," Luna said, and then pulled him into a deep kiss. As the twosome sat on the roof of their home, looking at the stars, the night before Luna had to return to Hogwarts, or Purgatory as she called it, Angel asked her a simple question. "Luna, what do you want most in the world? To touch the night sky? To be free, I guess, like you are?" Luna stated simply, leaning back into Angel's arms. He wrapped his arms around her, and she breathed in his scent. "I love you, Luna Lovegood. Just always know that, okay?" "Yes," I love you too, my guardian angel. Luna sighed, looking up at the stars again. I want your wish to come true. Angel said after a second. Do you really want the burden? I'd do anything to see the world the way you see it. Okay. When's your birthday again? Angel asked. January 4th, why? Luna asked, sitting up abruptly. Wait, do you think I could fly? Yes, it's risky though, and rather painful. Are you sure about your decision? Angel asked her. It's permanent, and may put you in even more danger. It's also the strongest bond that can be forged. What do you mean? The bond part? I mean, it's a tattoo of a sort like mine, but it's made out of special ink. That ink bonds us together. We can communicate without minds and such. I've been meaning to tell you. I believe you're my soulmate, and that has to be true for this to work. Angel paused before saying, do you feel that? I mean, like a bond is special. Warmth in your core. It's okay if you don't, I mean. Merlin, this is tough to explain. Yes, Angel, I know what you mean. I feel that too, like you were finally complete. You feel like a part of you was missing and suddenly reappeared. You are my soulmate. I love you, and I always will. Luna said, standing up and looking into Angel's eyes. Let's go to my room then. Are you sure about this? Yes, Angel, I trust you. Angel smiled, took Luna's hand, and led her to his room. The first thing is we both have to come clean with any major secrets that we have. We have to be completely honest. This is going to be especially hard for me. I hope you still feel the same for me when I tell you the truth. Angel rubbed his eyes as he sat down on the edge of his bed. I'll always feel the same about you, you know that. Luna said, I'll go first. Okay, Angel said, letting Luna take the floor. Well, I never thought I'd actually find anyone who liked me for one. Also, when I was 4, I went into my mom's lab. She was a potions master and hid. I saw her get herself blown up. Even though I ran from the room and pretended I didn't see a thing. I didn't want my father to hate me for not stopping my mother. I guess it's kind of stupid, really, but I still worry about it to this day. I guess witnessing the accident might have made me the person I am today. I really don't have much else to hide. That's tough. I'm really sorry about your mom. I don't think your father would love you any less or blame you in any way for your mother's death, though. You were 4 years old. You didn't know anything about potions. You could barely sign your name at that age. It's not your fault. Just remember that. Angel sighed. It was his turn. When I was 8 years old, I ran away from home. I was adopted and trained by a man and woman who I think of as parents. I believe everyone thinks I'm dead, except for a select few. I remember seeing you at Hogwarts last year as well. I have to kill Voldemort to fulfill a prophecy, and my brother is believed to be the one to do that still by Dumbledore and his parents. My name is Ryden, and also Harry James Potter, brother of the boy who supposedly lived. Sirius isn't my father or uncle, he's my godfather. My parents are Lily and James, and I can never forgive them for torturing me through my younger years, even though I have been trying. They abuse me in more ways than I have ever told anyone, and I don't want to put something so heavy on your conscience. Last but not close to least, I love Miss Luna Lovegood and hope to marry her someday after I fulfill my purpose in life, to kill Voldemort. Angel winced, waiting for her to yell, or move away, or even hit him, but she didn't. She turned and threw herself at him, hugging him tightly. I told you, no matter what, I'll always love you, Luna whispered. Angel smiled, and Luna got up. What next? Angel smiled and summoned some objects wandlessly. There was an emerald green stone bowl, a small silver box, and a small knife. Hold this bowl still, he ordered. Luna nodded and grabbed the bowl, which was sitting on a small table next to the bed. Angel then picked up the knife and slashed his right wrist open, right where the veins were. Luna opened her mouth to scream, but one look from Angel silenced her. He held his bleeding wrist over the bowl, letting the blood collect in a crimson pool. After there was a good amount there, he shut his eyes and concentrated on healing his wrist. The cut disappeared, soft pale skin covering the slightly red area. Luna gaped open-mouthed. Take your shirt off and lay on the bed, stomach down, he said, grabbing the box and bowl and sitting on the bed. Luna blushed, but quickly complied, removing her shirt and bra. Angel gave her a quick smile of reassurance. as she lay down. He sat to her left side, knees tucked under him in a sort of kneeling position. He opened the box carefully and took out a silver needle. Luna gulped slightly, but didn't flee. She had been told it was going to hurt, but she was going to stick it through to the end. Angel dipped the needle into the bowl and began working on the tattoo. 3 hours later, he was done. Tears were coursing silently down Luna's face from the pain. Angel waited a moment, ran his hand over her back, and looked on in fascination. Her tattoo had turned into a pair of white wings. They were beautiful. All of the blood had vanished with the wave of his hand, and Luna unsteadily sat up. "You're so beautiful," Angel said, kissing Luna softly on the head and giving her a hand up and lead her over to a large mirror on his bedroom wall. He bid her to turn around, and when she looked over her shoulder, she gasped. She had 2 beautiful white wings tattooed on her back. "How did the color change?" she asked weakly, sagging slightly against Angel for support. "You only used your blood, not any ink. Your magic picks your color. It was all up to what type of magic, what level of magic, and what kind of person you are. You were so innocent, so pure, so clean. I had a feeling you'd be white." Angel handed Luna one of his t-shirts and said, "You can stay here tonight, sleep. You need it." Luna nodded absently, pulled the shirt over her head, kissed Angel briefly, and collapsed in a heap on the bead, sound asleep. Angel chuckled and tucked her under the blankets, placing a kiss on her forehead. He then went and spent the night out on the couch in the living room. Please don't forget to review. I'll have more in the next chapter to make up for this one's lameness. I love to hear from you, so don't hesitate to review or email me. CH15. Thanks for the reviews. Hugs to all who did. I'm glad to hear. Fiam everyone. So don't be scared to email or review me. IWS going to torture Tyler a bit in here, but I decided James would work better. I'll get him next chappy. Well, please don't forget to review. I don't own anything. If I did, I wouldn't have to have my foot surgery done again. It would have been done right the first time. Happy holidays. The day had come for Luna to go back to Hogwarts, much to her displeasure. I'm going to miss you, Luna said as she hugged Angel tightly. I'm going to miss you soon, but I might see you sooner than you expect, came Angel's reply, and then he kissed her one final time. Ahem, lovebirds, it's time to go. Remus interrupted with a smile. Yeah, kiddos, let's get the show on the road. Sirius cheered. Someone had way too much coffee. See you, Angel said as Luna was ushered out the door by the coffee-happy Sirius. He wasn't going, so not to draw suspicion to Luna. No one was to know where she was all summer, especially Dumbles and the potheads. We'll be back later, Angel. Tonks is going to morph into her father and see her off at the station. Will you be all right? Remus asked, seeing Angel's forlorn look. Yeah, Angel said, a devious look on his face. What are you planning? You'll find out later, but for now, see ya. Keep her safe, or the full moon will be the least of your worries, Wolf Boy. Angel said playfully, but Remus could detect some underlying hardness to the words. The boy meant business as only someone in love would. Of course, Remus replied, walking out the doorway. Angel sagged onto one of the couches. He could feel the hole in his heart returning because Luna wasn't there beside him. He couldn't live without her. He was in love. That was when he sprang into action. He only had an hour or so before Remus and Sirius got back, since they were traveling to one of the Loyal Wolves' houses, located in London, with Flu, and taking the subway from there. He ran to his room and began throwing things into his trunk. The fact that he could use magic didn't occur to him. He just felt that hollow spot and knew he had to be with her. He donned his silver robes and checked to make sure his scar wasn't noticeable by applying some concealer, which was waterproof and magic-proof, since it was wizard-made. Luna had gotten it for him in town when he mentioned he had an ugly scar, which made it uncomfortable to be around others with his shirt off. It wasn't the whole truth, but at the time she couldn't know about his secret. I'm not going to let her leave me, Angel said out loud to the empty room, pacing the floor nervously. He was worried about what Remus and Sirius would do when he told him his plan. He already had the paperwork forged from a wizarding school in America, and the rest of his papers were in order. His name was Angelus, Angel for short, Lumen Black, son of Sirius Black. The school he was transferring from was one Aiden had attended in his youth for a while, and he had some sort of teacher-student debt or something with the dean, who would back up any story if needed. Hey, Angel, we're back, Sirius said as he sprang in the door, still slightly wired from the coffee. Good. I have to talk to you guys. Hurry up. Angel yelled from the living room, where he was trying to read a book, but failing miserably, his mind on a certain female blonde teen that happened to be his soulmate. What is it? Remus asked, sitting down on one of the couches. I'm going to Hogwarts, Angel stated, getting up and pacing the floor again. Sirius seemed to have lost all of his caffeine-induced hyperness and slumped down onto the couch next to Remus. Angel, we were put in charge of you, Aiden said. Remus was cut off by Angel. I'm in love with her, Remus. I'm freaking in love. She's my soulmate. We're bonded, and I can't live without her. Remus and Sirius sat in a stunned silence. I'm sure you are overreacting a bit, kid. You're too young to be into a serious relationship, Sirius said, still shocked. No, Sirius. If it's his soulmate, I can see how this happened. I read up on the Angel bloodline. They have soulmates. I'm just surprised you found yours at such a young age. You said you bonded? That makes your separation even harder, doesn't it? Remus said, his calm and collectedness returning, logic taking the place of surprise. I'm glad someone did their research. And yes, I'm lost without her. I miss her so much. I need to go. Can't you see? I'm in love with her, Angel yelled, slamming a fist on the nearby table, splintering the wood. A few wood splinters were stuck in his hand, but he didn't notice his healing abilities would come into play soon anyways. Relax, don't hurt yourself over it. I mean, if you really love her, go to her. That's all I can say. Personally, I'd say she's worth it. Go get Yim, kid. If Aiden asks, it wasn't us who gave you permission to go, okay? I treasure my head a bit too much to lose it to an angry father with a broadsword. Sirius, surprisingly, had some wisdom and experience. Behind his words, Angel looked to Remus, who reluctantly nodded. Angel then accordingly did as any semi-self-respecting teen would do and threw himself at his guardians for a hug. Thanks, guys, Angel said as he shrunk his trunk and placed it in the pocket of his emerald green robes. Just be careful, Remus said, slapping Angel on the back one more time. Angel grinned, once again used wandless magic to open the window, spread his wings, and jumped. Remus and Sirius automatically ran to the window to see Angel flying off in the direction of Hogwarts. The kid has guts, Sirius said, flopping down on the couch. So what's for dinner? Meanwhile, Angel concentrated his power and transported himself just outside Hogsmeade, still flying. He didn't want anyone to know he could transport himself through anti-apparition wards. He could feel Luna. She was getting closer. He smiled slightly, knowing he was going to make quite an entrance at the opening feast yet again. This school never gets boring. Of course, with his luck, it had begun to rain, and he was soaked all the way through. He kept flying until he was in front of the doors to the Great Hall. He landed, huge black wings outstretched, and shoved the doors open. At least half of the people in the hall had wands trained on him the minute he entered. They weren't as hopeless as he believed. He strode in, folding his wings up, but did not will them to vanish, but left them out for effect. He could see it was working. Luna gasped, her eyes wide. He wasn't supposed to be here. He'd be caught for sure. Who are you? Dumbledore asked. Angel, I'm transferring from Rampalt School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in America. Sorry, I missed the train. Angel decided to play it dumb and act like it was an everyday occurrence to have a few hundred wands trained on him and being questioned by the esteemed headmaster of Hogwarts, Dumbledore. Of course, Mr. Any last name? Albus, you simply cannot allow some strange boy to come into the school like this. It isn't right. James Potter whispered viciously. Angel heard it easily with his enhanced hearing. I do believe it is Dumbledore's decision of who can attend this fine institution, not yours, Mr. Potter. Angel said lightly, smiling inwardly at Potter's dumbfounded expression. Dumbledore smiled in his thoroughly annoying manner. Of course, bring out the sorting hat. McGonagall picked up her magic list, which read the person's name. Her eyes looked like they were going to pop out of her head. B. Black, Angelus. Angel sat down, ignoring the mutterings and the gaping staff members and Potters. Mr. Potter, or should I say Ryden, or should I say Angel Lumen Black? Nice names. If you say anything, I use you to make a pair of socks for dear old Dumbles. Geez, you are wound-tied, aren't you? Don't worry, I'd never say anything. I'd rather be scrap fabric rather than his socks, yuck. Aren't you supposed to be sorting me? Yeah, let's see you a soulmate bonded nice. Wings? Ah, yes, an angel, last of the line if I am correct. A lot of extra training. You are the boy who lived. I could have guessed that. Your brother's head was completely empty. It was like, hello, anyone home? No. So, hold on, bravery, lots of that. Book smarts, lots of that. Loyalty, lots of that. Cunning, lots of that. Merlin, you are just a perfectionist, aren't you? Yep, only the best. Well, it will have to be. All. There was a shocked silence. Excuse me? Dumbledore asked the hat. There must be a mistake. He can't be in all of the houses. I don't make mistakes. I've been doing this job longer than you have, and I know what I'm doing. This boy doesn't have a designated house. He's neutral. Let him choose where he will be going. Now if you'll excuse me, I need to start working on next year's song. This one felt a bit rough. The hat finished up his tirade, and Dumbledore looked to the slightly smirking angel. Anywhere in particular you want to go? Mr. Black? Yeah, Ravenclaw. Angel walked through the silent hall. People, especially girls, moved over to give him a seat or motion for him. He simply shook his head, headed to the end of the table where Luna sat alone, kissed her quickly the cheek, sat down, raised an eyebrow at the shocked looks he was getting, and immediately started up in conversation about crumpled horn snort snacks, SP. Luna giggled at her peers' shocked and even slightly angry expressions. You didn't make a good first impression, love. I don't care. I came here for you. And you only, though I'd like to see if anyone from my family recognizes me. Angel laughed slightly at the thought, scooped some potatoes onto his plate, and dug in. You know you're going to be in big trouble when they find out, right? Luna said, taking a bite of her food. Yeah, let 'em get me. They fucking better figure it out without me dropping all sorts of clues. Angel stole a piece of chicken off Luna's plate, causing her to whack him playfully. Language, Mr. Black, Luna scolded. You don't want me to have to punish you, do you? It depends if you're going to spank me, hell yeah. Angel replied swiftly, causing Luna to roll her eyes. Guys and their perverted fantasies. I was thinking a bit more along the line of Snape spanking you. Luna said with a grimace. Just the thought was rather disturbing. Angel, on the other hand, spit out the pumpkin juice he was drinking, some of it coming out his nose. He received many odd looks at his actions. That is just an extremely bad mental image, Luna, so wrong you. It could be worse. Lord Voldemort's could have perverted daydreams about you and your tight ass. Luna giggled at the look on Angel's face, which soon turned from horror to a smirk. Are you sure you don't have it mixed up with your perverted fantasies about my tight ass? Angel asked, smirking wider as Luna simmered and growled at him. They were getting some strange looks, and people who were listening to their conversation were shocked. It so happened when he and Luna left the Great Hall to go to the dorms, Angel was stopped by none other than James Potter. Who are you? He growled, grabbing Angel tightly on the shoulder. I thought you at least had half a brain, Potter. The hat announced it to the entire school just 45 minutes ago. I'm Angelus Lumen Black. Black doesn't have a son. Potter snarled, enraged at the boy's lack of respect. Yes, he does. I was born out of wedlock. My mother died when I was 9, so I want to go live with Sirius. Angel smirked openly at the look in Potter's face. I know everything. You fucking bastard, everything. I fell into his pensive when I was 10 years old. You bastard, just let go of me before I rip your arm off. Angel felt himself losing control. No, I don't think so. You threatened my son. You think you were something special, don't you, bird boy? Well, I'll make sure you win. James was cut off by Angel, moving quicker than could be seen by human eyes. He reached up, twisted Potter's arm, snapping the elbow and wrist. Potter screamed, a high-pitched scream filled with pain and fear. It sounded rather girly. If you didn't know Potter was married, you'd wonder which way he swung. Angel, pushing the screaming Potter to the side, strode down the hall, leaving the stunned Luna to hurry to catch up. It's just up here, Luna said quietly. She wasn't going to scold him for his actions. That bastard deserved every ounce of pain and more. Okay. Angel stopped walking as Luna stopped in front of a large painting of a library. How classic. Autumn K. A Sachet. Luna smiled at Angel as the portrait opened. French. I know, but I mean, it's a little obvious, you know. Angel raised an eyebrow. Luna shrugged. No one has bothered us yet. Good. He planted another kiss on her cheek before they went down the ladder into the common room. It was between floors. It's really nice. I just wish they would find another center of interest rather than us. Angel said quietly under his breath, so only Luna would hear. Luna, on the other hand, was blushing under the looks. She had always felt judged and different from her house. No one really liked her. Well, good night, Angel. I suspect someone here will be able to help you find the dorm? Luna meant this towards a group of sixth years. They nodded hard enough that you'd think their heads would fall off. Good night, love. I'll see you in the morning, Angel said, as she went down the stairs to the girls' dormitories. Luna sighed. She wasn't happy to be back at Hogwarts, but at least having Angel here made it a bit more bearable. Please don't forget to review. Please gives puppy dog eyes as my Christmas gift. Oh well, happy holidays. Don't eat too much fruitcake. You may not be able to open your mouth again. Go, Musho. Thanks for the reviews, guys. I'm working on my grammar, etc., but I'm just not really good at those things. I just love to write. I'm sorry this chapter is a bit weak, but I've been having some health problems, so I had to work around 2-foot surgeries and a whole bunch of other crap. I hate those kinds of weeks, don't you? Well, I hope you enjoyed your holiday, and thanks for the wonderful reviews as gifts. They were the best things I got this year. Anyways, enjoy, and please don't forget to review. The next day, Angel woke up early, and the rest of his dorm mates were still asleep. He crawled out of bed yawning, wandered over to the boys' bathrooms in a haze, took a shower, threw on some clothes, and headed to the Great Hall. As he exited the dorms and headed down the corridor, something stopped him. Voices. He ducked into a doorway and waited for the people to pass. He had no idea why he was doing this, though. He soon found out. It was Kaylee and Jenna. They were heading out for their usual morning training. He longed to join them, to be back with his real family, but he resisted. He decided to simply keep them on their toes instead. With a quick movement, he removed a single black feather from his pocket. He had picked it up one day when he was flying, and it fell out of his wing, conjured a piece of parchment, wrote a quick note, and attached it to the feather. He then used a wandless spell to send it flying straight at the back of Kaylee's head. He sniggered, concentrated on his power, and disappeared. Kaylee yelled as something hit her hard on the back of her head. She whirled, looking for an assailant, but there was none. Jenna, seeing her sister's reaction, looked around too, and she saw a feather and a note and started laughing. Wow, Kay, it's the attack of the evil feather and his buddy, the parchment. They're coming to take over the world and beat Kaylee up as well. Jenna crackled. She could be rather strange at times. Kaylee growled, muttered something rather nasty under her breath, and bent down to get the paper. It's probably some dorky guy who wants to ask you out and is too chicken to say it to your face, Jenna babbled, ignoring the look she was receiving from her sister. Shut the fuck up, Kaylee snarled as she unfolded the parchment. Aw, it'll K-way is embawazed. How quit, Jenna said in a babyish voice, doing a very good impression of Bella Lestrange, which was very creepy. Kaylee swung his fist at her sister, which was easily sidestepped. She then read over the letter, Dear Freya, and cried, Please tell Aiden and Badet I must have a conference with them ASAP. I'm sure with the clue I left, you can figure out who I am. We'll meet in the room of requirement at 9 o'clock tonight. Don't be late. Feel free to bring along everyone, except the OTP or Dumbledore. This is of the utmost secrecy. I trust you too. It must have been that boy from the other night. You know, the one we heard about with the wings. I wish we weren't all on guard duty that night, so we could have seen him arrive. It must have been some sight. Jenna sighed, imagining some mysterious, not to mention hot, teen boy flying through the doors of Hogwarts. Little did she know she was thinking all sorts of bad thoughts about her brother. Yeah, I wish I could feel his wings. They must be so soft, Kaylee said, wondering if they felt like duck feathers or crow feathers, or neither. I don't know, I really don't know, Jenna answered, starting to walk back down the hall. Kaylee stood there for another second pondering. Hey, wait up. Angel grinned, wishing he could have gotten a picture of Kaylee's reaction. It'd make a great Christmas card, or blackmail of curse. He shook his head and sat down at the Ravenclaw table, waiting for Luna to come. He grabbed some food and began stuffing his face as most males do when they see anything edible, and thought about how easy the curriculum would be this year, since he was fully trained and qualified already. About 10 minutes later, Luna arrived and sat down with a sigh next to Angel. Sleep well. Angel asked. Not really, Luna yawned. I miss my mattress. This one's too fluffy. I know what you mean, Angel replied, and their pointless chatter continued through breakfast until it was time for their first-class charms. Angel grabbed a seat next to Luna. The room was quickly filling up with half-asleep students. Their class was a double with Slytherin, nothing the Ravenclaws couldn't handle. The Ravenclaws respected the Slytherins' cunning and manipulation skills, while the Slytherins respected the Ravenclaws' knowledge and study skills. They respected each other's differences, but this didn't mean they got along, though. The Slytherins were probably the most civil to Ravenclaws, though. They despised Gryffindor and treated Hufflepuffs like dirt. They still thought highly of themselves, but knew they were outbrained by the overachieving Ravenclaws. The class was boring, just review from the previous year, or so Luna said. Angel faked his age, pretending he was 15 instead of 16, so he could be with Luna. Angel hadn't attended any of the classes last year, so he didn't know exactly what level they were on. Right now, they were practicing summoning and banishing charms. Meanwhile, there was a meeting going on about this new student Angel. I don't like him, James Potter pouted childishly. There's something off about him. I know, honey. Let's just hear what Albus has to say. Lily Potter smiled slightly at her husband's impatience. Now, James, what is it that is bothering you? Dumbledore asked as he sat down at his desk. He had been refilling his dish of candies. Lemon drop? No, thank you, Albus. I'm watching my figure, Lily said, declining the sweet, though James took a handful and shoved them in his mouth without another thought. It took him a minute to swallow the candies, so Albus and Lily caught up on news. Tyler is doing so well at those special lessons, Lily gushed. He's going to be a great warrior. Lily knew better, though. She knew Tyler was slacking, but she would never say such a thing about her favorite, and in her book, only son. Dumbledore knew better as well. He chose not to address Lily's lie, though. That's great. How are you holding up, though? What do you mean? Lily asked. Well, you found out last year your son, who was supposed to be dead, was really alive the whole time and trained by the greatest warrior of all time, and then died again. That would bother me a bit. That is, if he was my son, of course. Oh, then I'm taking it fine. I didn't know him. So he really was a complete stranger. I couldn't care more about what happened to him. I guess it's a good thing he's dead, though. That means Tyler is really the chosen one, right? There is no other option except that Longbottom boy who is almost a squib. He's really a disgrace to the Longbottom name. His parents were such powerful and outstanding aurors, and it's too bad their talent wasn't passed down to their son. He'd have been a great asset to the war effort. Lily rambled on as Dumbledore's mind drifted. Was Tyler really the chosen one? He wasn't extraordinary, he wasn't special, and he wasn't all-powerful. He was just normal. He was freakishly normal in Dumbledore's opinion. The boy never showed any signs of magical maturation. He didn't inherit any superpowers or get a boost of raw magic, which is sometimes the case when a wizard or witch reaches the age of 16. He sighed, running a hand through his white beard. Well, we think this angel kid could be a threat to the children, and Tyler as well. Tai had told us that over the summer he and a few friends were visiting Bridgeport, you know, the magical town a few miles outside of London, and he ran into this angel character and Luna Lovegood and some strange girl who looked a few years older than the rest of them. He mentioned something like she had bright pink hair or something, but it seems they threatened him, and then Angel flew off with the two girls under his arms. They resisted arrest and escaped the aurors that were stationed with Tyler at the time. I don't like it one bit, Albus, James ranted. He really was dumb when you think about it. Dumbledore sighed again, leaning back into his sickeningly colorful flowery chair. This wasn't turning out to be a good day. I wasn't aware Sirius had any children, Dumbledore remarked. Neither were we. It's a shame that bastard procreated. Now we're all doomed, James snarled, being the insolent prick everyone thought he was and said behind his back. Well, we must not jump to conclusions here. He may just be here to learn. You never know. Dumbledore tried to reason, but Lily cut in. I saw he was extremely close to Lovegood, but with a bit of digging I learned that she is a very strange and deranged little girl. She has no real friends. Her housemates hate her with a passion, and everyone keeps their distance so not to catch the crazy germ. I don't see how those two have any relation to each other. Lily shook her head, clearly baffled. Well, as you are well aware, Her father runs the magazine, the Quibbler. At this, James snorted. And you are aware he prints false information for the Order of the Wolf, correct? Lily and James nodded. They had heard about all of this at an Order of the Phoenix meeting. Well, from what I've heard, Mr. Lovegood and his daughter were threatened by the Death Eaters earlier this summer, and Luna suddenly disappeared. There were no traveling records, no appreciation, no port keys, no flu, nothing. I believe she may have been at the Wolves' headquarters all summer for her protection. Dumbledore raised an eyebrow at the Potter's expressions. You mean that little girl knows where the wolves are? James asked. Yes, that's exactly what I mean, Dumbledore said with a small smile. Do you think we could get a hold of the information? Lily asked. No, I believe James saw what this angel is capable of. At this, James blushed slightly. I think he was sent to take care and protect Ms. Lovegood. I think there is also more than a friendship between them as well. I could feel a strong bond between them, too strong for teenagers to have normally with their raging hormones and such. They have an unbreakable bond of some sort. I'm thinking a soulmate? If that is the case, the information is next to impossible to get a hold of. Dumbledore finished up with a shrug. It's too dangerous to try to extract the information from her. If it's anyone, it'll have to be Angel. Lily and James nodded, agreeing wholeheartedly with what Dumbledore was saying. They would follow the man blindly wherever he went, even if it meant going against what they believe. Wow, that was enlightening, Angel said sarcastically as they exited the Charms classroom. Luna giggled. It was your idea to attend Hogwarts. Now you have to live with the consequences, bird boy. No, you have to live with the consequences, my dear bird girl. Angel shot back, grabbing Luna around the waist and throwing her over his shoulder, ignoring her squealing and the extremely odd looks they were receiving. Eek! Put me down, you feather-brained fiend. Luna screeched playfully, kicking her feet. Never, you lovely bird-brained girl. I'm madly in love with you and will carry you away to my nest, where we will eat worms and grubs and be merry. Angel cried, as if he rehearsed this 100 times, when it was actually coming right off the top of his head. I shall jump from your nest. Luna giggled. And I shall jump after you, and we shall fall to our grisly deaths together. Angel shot back without a second thought. And I shall use you as a cushion to break my fall. Luna said, again trying to free herself from Angel's grip. And I shall allow you, because you deserve the world, or at least a comfortable pillow to land on. Angel said as he placed Luna back on her feet, a smirk playing across his face. Fine, Flyboy, now let's get to class before we're late, Luna said, grabbing Angel's hand and dragging him after her. Everyone clearing a path for the psychotic couple. From a distance, two pairs of eyes looked upon this exchange with interest. They belonged to Gavin and Carla. It's cute, Carla commented. It reminds me of us when we were younger. Hot, young, alive, passionate, romantic, spontaneous. Those were the good days. Carla sighed. So Gavin did the only thing he could think of. He kissed her right there in front of all those people. Well, that'll have to do. Carla smiled as they broke apart, just as Kaylee approached. Gross, you gross. Please, please never ever do that again. Now I'll have to go scrub my eyes out with soap. Anyways, there's a letter for you two. Kaylee said, handing it to Gavin. Yeah, it attacked Kaylee, Jenna said, walking up from behind Kaylee. At Carla's look, she smiled. Well, maybe attacked isn't the right word. Humiliated, that's better. It humiliated Kaylee and gave her a pretty goose egg on the back of her head. This also came with it. Jenna handed Carla the feather. As Carla held the feather, her eyes widened in astonishment. That boy, Nagel, he's the one who sent it, right? Yeah, I think so, Kaylee answered. But I'm not sure. I guess we'll find out tonight, won't we? Yeah, I guess we will, Carla answered. Meanwhile, Gavin was still staring at the letter. He could recognize that writing from anywhere, this meeting would prove to be interesting. 8:45 rolled around, and Angel snuck out of the library. The curfew was 10 o'clock since it was Friday, and he had decided to get some extra studying in. He was reading up on ancient spells, some which were dark, some light, but in Angel's opinion, they were the same. Nothing was black and white. Nothing was clean-cut. The world was made up of grays and blurred lines. Nothing was good, and nothing was evil. He looked around before sneaking into an unused classroom and concentrating on his power. He disappeared and reappeared in a corridor, the one which contained the room of requirement. He walked down the hall and smiled, seeing the door already there. It was just like his family to arrive early to gain the upper hand. As he walked in, all wands and swords were pointed at him, well except Aiden's. He was smiling widely and threw his arms out for a hug. Hey Gavin. Yay, another chapter complete. Next time, we get to see how Angel's family reacts to the new him and newfound abilities, as well as seeing Kaylee beat Angel up for making her worry. Hugs to all. Please don't forget to review. Have a very happy new year. Come bye. Thanks for the reviews, guys. You rock. While I sit here writing this, I wonder where the hell has this week gone? I've been so busy, tests, quizzes, the works. What I'm trying to say is this chapter is rather short. I'm sorry about that. I hope the next chapter will make up for that. Standard disclaimer, I don't own anything. That's why I am broke. Anyhow, enjoy, and since I left you last week with a Cliffy, you better start reading. As he walked in, all wands and swords were pointed at him, well except Aiden's. He was smiling widely and threw his arms out for a hug. Hey Gavin. Was the collected and extremely intelligent reply to this throughout the room. Come on guys, you can't be that dumb. I mean, it's not like I'm part of your family or anything. Angel smirked as this worked its way through their brains, and Gavin was laughing so hard that he was gasping for air. Right? Kaylee screamed as she launched herself at her brother. She pulled him into a bone-crushing hug, tears making her way down her face. She was soon pushed aside by Carla, who did about the same thing as Kaylee. Jenna followed suit, and all of the boys gave him manly hugs, without the tears, of course. Where the hell have you been? I was fucking worried about you. Kaylee screeched. Angel looked at Gavin. He shrugged. I told her you were with the wolves, but that was it really. I didn't want her busting in there to see you. Kaylee then proceeded to kick the crap out of Angel, and Angel, not wanting to hurt his sister, allowed her to. Never, ever do that again. You insensitive. ASS. Hole. Kaylee screeched, whacking her brother repeatedly with whatever limb she had open, whether it was her hand or foot or knee. You better now? Angel asked, whipping some blood off his face. Yep. Kaylee said. She had to be restrained by Jenna and Carla before she did any more damage to Angel. What? Carla trailed off, touching Angel's cheek where a rather large bruise from Kaylee's foot was rapidly disappearing. I think you have a lot of explaining to do, Gavin said. He had finally stopped laughing, but hadn't helped Angel in the least when he was being beat up by Kaylee. What a dad. Yeah, you do, Kaylee growled. Angel gulped. All right. He waved his hand, and a few couches and chairs appeared in the room. When they were all seated, and Kaylee smacked Angel again for good measure, he started in on his tale. He told them of the Wolves' army and how he trained his rookies to actually become good fighters. He told them of Tonks, Remus, and Sirius, and their incredibly dumb actions and adventures. He told them of how well the army was doing, and of his power spurt which made him look so different. He told them of his wings, and how he was one of the last angels. He let his wings out, and Kaylee got to feel them. They were softer than anything she ever touched. Jenna was blushing. Now she had to scrub out her brain to rid it of the things she was thinking about her brother earlier before she knew it was him. When he told them of Luna, his eyes softened. They could see how much he cared for her just through his words, that he told them everything, and they told him they would help him in any way. That's what family does. By the end of Angel's speech, Kaylee wasn't making threatening signs to him, and Carla was dabbing her eyes. Her little boy was all grown up. Well, that was interesting, but now I'm going to be able to tease you about your girlfriend whenever I see you, Kaylee said, an evil smirk across her face. That's going to be hard to do, Kay. You see, I'm Angel now, not Raiden. I have to go to classes, do homework, and make appearances. If I am seen too much with you guys, Dumbles will be wondering if I was telling the truth, which I wasn't, but that's not the point. I will blow my cover if I'm seen talking with you. Or anything. I'm sorry, but our visits will have to be few and far apart. Angel sighed. I really missed you guys, and it's torturing me to have to be away from you, but I have to. My other cover was blown, so I can't go back to being Raiden, because they know I'm Harry. My life is so messed up. Kaylee frowned. He had just got back. He couldn't leave again. She needed him. He was her brother. He was her brother. She loved him. And now he was leaving again. It wasn't fair. She got up from her chair, crying, and ran from the room. Angel made a move to go after her, but was stopped by Jenna. I'll get her, she's fine. Relax, I bet she just got something in her eye. Jenna lied through her teeth, and Nagel knew it. But he also knew his identity was at stake, and he couldn't risk chasing after her through a school full of students and teachers and Potters. Okay, but just tell her I'm sorry, okay? Promise me you will. Jenna. Angel was practically begging. He didn't want to hurt Kaylee. Okay, just let me go. Jenna growled impatiently and then ran after her sister. I'll see you guys later. Angel set a frown on his face. Everyone got up and gave him hugs and goodbyes. He left about 10 minutes before everyone else, so if they were seen leaving, they wouldn't be seen with him. Angel was deep in thought as he headed back to his dorm. The feeling that he let down and hurt his sister was overwhelming. That was when Potter Jr. arrived. His timing couldn't have been better. If it isn't the local freak show. My father told me birds always carry diseases, do you? Tyler Potter sneered. Angel's sadness turned to anger within seconds. Believe me, if I did, I would have definitely given you one, asshole. Ooh, I think I made it angry. Tyler mocked, his cronies laughing. Your father is a mutt and his boyfriend is a werewolf. And you are a bastard because you don't have a mother. I bet she left because you were so bloody weird. You are nothing, bird boy. Absolutely nothing. I, on the other hand, am going to defeat Voldemort single-handedly and save the wizarding world from people like you, dark, evil freaks. Werewolves, vampires, half-breeds, and winged freaks. You're all going to be put away somewhere so all of us normal people can live our lives happily without worrying about one of you animals going berserk and hurting someone. Tyler finished off his long tirade, and then Angel had his chance. Well, Potter, Angel spat. At least my parents weren't child abusers. At least they loved each other, and at least they loved me. They don't love you, you stupid child. They love your fame. They love your name. They love your image, not you as a person. I'm more than you'll ever be, and that's all there is. My father is a wonderful man. He's smart, funny, and loves me. Yours, well, let's say when it comes to brains, he got the short end of the stick. I have a family. I have everything I'll ever need. I don't care about you, Potter, so go cry to your stupid fans because I'm done with your shit. Angel growled. Suddenly, he felt a lot less angry and very tired. Now, if you'll excuse me, you're in my way. Tyler was enraged. How dare this filthy half-breed say these things about his perfect family, about him, the chosen one, the boy who lived, savior of the wizarding world? This boy in front of him was nothing, a piece of dirt on his shoe. How dare he think he is better than the boy who lived? Do you really think you're going to get away with what you said? Do you think you're better than me? Well, you're not. Get him. Tyler roared. His Gryffindor buddies stupidly charged Angel. What a mistake. The first one, Weasley, ended up with a broken nose and a concussion. The others' injuries varied. In the end, Tyler ran like the coward he was. He was probably going to tell some lie to his mommy or daddy about how Angel attacked them. What bullshit. Angel sighed as he sat down on his bed. The night had proved to be stressful, though the day was quite enjoyable. He and Luna had acted as people call a loony. Now he was being called Loony's boyfriend, Arse Angel, the overgrown pigeon, much to Luna's delight, and Bird Boy. They had reenacted the musical Cats in the hallway after defense. It was a riot for everyone, especially the Muggleborns. The pure bloods, or wizard-raised kids just laughed because of how strange the whole thing was. Potter came by and deducted 10 points each from them for acting like idiots in the corridors. Angel smiled at the thought of Luna and lay back on his bed, quickly falling asleep. His dreams were filled with her voice and laughter. He couldn't wait until she went through her magical change, so they would be closer. The next morning, Angel knew he was going to face the music. He caught up with Luna in the common room and told her he was going to go to the kitchens for breakfast. Even though he hadn't told her what happened the other night, she could tell he was worried about something. The last thing he needed was to get thrown out of school. Snape caught him on his way down to the kitchens. Black, Snape sneered. The headmaster wants to see you in his office immediately. The password is Blood Pops. Yes, sir. Angel rolled his eyes as he walked away from the man. He could feel him trying to break down his mind's shields. It wasn't working. Blood Pops. Angel told the statues in front of the headmaster's office. They immediately moved to the sides. He went up the stairs and went up the stairs. When he reached the top, everything went black. When he came to, he was in a stone room. His arms were bound behind his back magically, and his wand was gone. Not wanting to give away his wandless magic, Angel sat, patiently waiting for whoever kidnapped him to make an appearance. Angel racked his brain. The last thing he remembered was being called to the headmaster's office and going up the stairs. Someone must have been waiting for him at the top. Damn, he let his guard down for 1 second. 1 fucking second. But a second is all something can take. The heavy wooden door to the room squealed open, and in came 3 people. Hello, Mr. Black. Mwahaha, I left you last week with a Cliffy, and I leave you this week with a Cliffy. Well, don't forget to review. Please, give sad face. I'm sorry, I seem to have had way much sugar, so please excuse my hyperness. Well, please review. I love to hear from you. Well, I'm glad none of you carried through with any of your threats. I am so going to sleep after this, so without further ado, I don't own anything, so deal with it. Please don't forget to review. Hugs. The heavy wooden door to the room squealed open, and in came 3 people. Hello, Mr. Black. There stood 3 of the people Angel hated most in the world: Lily Potter, James Potter, and Albus Dumbledore. Headmaster, what is the meaning of this? Angel questioned. Well, you see, we know Ms. Lovegood was with you this summer. We also know you were with the wolves all summer. Dumbledore said. And we want the location of their base, James Potter cut in. Why should I give it to you? Angel snarled. He could feel his magic beginning to become unstable from stress and anger. Because if you don't give it willingly, we won't hesitate to use other methods of persuasion. James smiled evilly. Dumbledore sighed. He didn't want to hurt any of his students, and it was his job to protect them. In the long run, the information was more important, though. Lily was hovering nervously behind the 2 men. Angel was surprised she didn't put her bid in yet. Well, persuade me all you want. I'm loyal to my father and the wolves. I'm a member of their pack, and now since I just sent out a distress signal, they'll find me soon. Angel said he was bluffing, of course. He had no way to contact Sirius and Remus. He was so screwed. Well, I'm disappointed in you, Mr. Black. I thought you'd be above petty lies. I see you're not, Dumbledore said disapprovingly. Like I give a damn what you think, old man. Angel growled irritably. Then a thought hit him. Where's Luna? What did you do with her? Ms. Lovegood is fine. She should be in class right about now, probably worried about you. If you give us the information we are seeking, you may return to her right now. If you don't, well, let's say this information is very important to us. Dumbledore ran a hand through his white hair, looking about the age he really was. I swear to Merlin, if you touch her, or even look at her in the wrong way, I'll castigate both of you, and make sure your whore of a wife never could reproduce in any way, shape, or form ever again. I guess that'd be a good thing. If you procreated again, then there would be 4 of you, and you'd have to share your 2 brain cells amongst 4 instead of 3. Personally, I don't think demamlatizing the old fart over there would cause any problems. If he tried to do anything, he'd probably keel over dead. Angel's tirade was cut off by a sharp blow, courtesy of Lily. What the hell did you call my wife? You little bastard. James shrieked. Well, if you want a full list, a bitch, whore, slut, bean flicker, fucknut, cockholster, a biddy, lot lizard, floozy, a bunny boiler, hobag, fugly, bimbo, minga, a dog, fag hag, pleb, dementoid, a donkey shank, carpet muncher, dementoid, a twat. Angel was cut off by another blow, only this one harder. James was the aggressor. It had taken them long enough to figure out he was insulting Lily. Most of the words they had never heard. Now, Mr. Black, if that really necessary? Dumbledore asked, all grandfatherly again. Yuck. What do you think, smartass? Angel snarled, blood running from his busted lip. The effect of it made him seem even scarier, or it may have been the magic force getting stronger in the room. But whatever it was, it made old Dumbledore shiver. I think Mr. Black needs some time to calm down, Lily. I'll leave you here to make sure Mr. Black does nothing rash. James, I must talk to you in private. Dumbledore turned to leave, James following after him like an obedient puppy. Well, after hitting Angel again, that is. Angel managed to get one more quip out before the door closed. Thank you for the wonderful chat, faggots. Where did you learn this language? Lily demanded. Oh, here, there, everywhere. Angel exclaimed in fake enthusiasm. Lily shook her head. You're going to get yourself killed. Is that what you want? Lily asked, her voice quiet. Do you want to die? You're only a child. Why are you putting yourself into this war? Why don't you just act like other teenagers? I die for my cause. I live to fight for what I decide is right. It's the rules I've always lived by, and nothing will make me betray my cause. Angel eyed the woman in front of him. Was that sympathy in her eyes? Lady, do you have any idea what I am? Do you have any idea what I can do? I'm your guy's only hope in this fucking war, and if they want to kill me, fine, so be it. But trust me, they'll wish they didn't. In a few hours, the word will be out that I'm missing. I have lots of friends, Ms. Potter, lots and lots of friends. You are warned. If you treasure your life and your moronic husbands, I'd suggest you get the hell out of town before they arrive. Otherwise, well, let's not go there. Angel smirked at her expression. What do you mean? Lily asked, intrigued by this boy in front of her. There is no way for them to find you. Angel laughed. You're kidding me if you think dumb fuck's magic is that strong, they'll find me. Whatever, Lily muttered, unnerved by how truthful the boy was being. So how's life? Angel asked, a sarcastic edge to his words. You know who my father is, correct? Lily nodded. He has told me so much about what a great person you two were, especially you, Mrs. Potter, well until the fame got to your heads. He held you in such high regards. He loved you too as family. You ruined it. You ruined their friendships with your family, and you ruined a boy's childhood and life. Angel was trying to play on the woman's emotions, for her to let he guard down, so he could somehow get some time alone to reach Luna through their still slightly weak mind, link which Angel had been blocking. What do you mean I didn't ruin Tyler's childhood, and he's still alive? Tyler's perfect. Lily said. It was like she forgot she had another son, but Angel knew she still remembered. I don't mean Tyler, I mean Harry James Potter, the real boy, who lived, the real chosen one, the real hero of the wizarding world. Angel smirked. Tyler's the hero, not Harry. Harry's dead, he's no hero. Lily countered. Have you ever seen Tyler do anything extraordinary? Is he powerful? Is he intimidating? Could he hold up in war? No, I didn't think so. He's been taking lessons, Lily weakly tried. I pity you. You actually believe he'd put effort into learning. Well, he doesn't care, and you, unfortunately, made a mistake. You see, I've met Harry Potter, well, before his death, that is, and I saw his memories, I saw his life, I saw how you treated him, I saw how he defeated Voldemort. Tyler's no hero, Mrs. Potter. Harry was, and it's practically your fault he died. You see, if you just loved him, just a bit, then maybe he would have stayed with you. Just maybe you would have seen your mistake. You screwed the wizarding world. No, wait, you screwed the whole world. Angel finished, smiling as he saw Lily in a heap on the floor, crying. She deserved every bit of it. What did you do to my wife? James bellowed when he entered the room and saw his wife weeping on the floor. I told her the truth, Angel simply stated. James, take Lily outside. I don't think she'll be able to handle this after whatever Mr. Black told her. Dumbledore sighed. He hated seeing Lily in such a state, and he knew that with her rather humanitarian ideals, she might oppose what he was going to do to get the information he needed. Lily the humanitarian, who would have thought, but since her son Harry ran away, she had been different. She didn't kill rats or mice she found. Rather, she stunned them and let them free in the woods. Something was different about her, and Dumbledore thought it had to do with losing Harry. People always say children and their mothers always have a special bond. Maybe she was feeling the pain and self-hatred that she should have felt years ago. Since Harry had died last year, she had been rather reserved, not as outgoing and carefree as she used to be. She just wasn't the same person. James, on the other hand, didn't feel a thing. He didn't care his son was dead. He just cared about things that could affect him, Lily, or Tyler. He really was a cold-hearted bastard. Angel had his eyes shut, seemingly asleep or in a trance. In reality, he was reaching out for help. Luna? Angel yelled. His voice was more of an echo than anything. Angel? Angel? Yeah, Luna. I'm trapped. The Potters and Dumbledore have me. Where? I don't know. Okay then. What do I do? Track me. How? You'll know. When you feel me closer to you, you'll know where I am. So it's kind of like the game hot and cold, right? I guess. But don't forget to bring Sirius and Remus, or anyone who you can trust. Luna, I don't know what shape I'll be in when you find me. Just remember, I love you. Angel cut the link so Dumbledore wouldn't figure out what he was doing, Luckily, the old coot had no idea he had just called for reinforcements. Mr. Black, I'm giving you one more chance. Tell me where the wolves are. Dumbledore demanded. As I said, and I will saw again. Go screw yourself, old man. I'm never fucking telling you a thing. Angel snapped, eyes glowing eerily, though Dumbledore didn't notice. I wish you'd stop this stubbornness, Mr. Black. It's not helping this situation in the slightest. Dumbledore tried to reason, but he was just ignored. He sighed. I didn't want it to come to this, but I have no choice, Alastair. Dumbledore said, and the door opened to reveal a gnarled old man. Albus, he's only a boy, Mad Eye said, eyes opening wide in shock. He's a very dangerous boy. Alastair, we need that information. You do know that, right? Dumbledore summoned a large black bag, which appeared on the floor at his feet. Okay, Albus, but it's on your conscience, not mine. Moody said, his face, once reserved, looked slightly angry at the thought of torturing a child. But if it was for the cause, he was willing to kill. Dumbledore went out of the room, and it began. It started with the Curicó curse. He got nothing. How's it going? Dumbledore asked as he returned. Angel was sweating, but he still hadn't divulged the information. It ain't going anywhere, Albus. The kid is tough, tougher than most Aurors. This was a compliment coming from Moody. Well, try something else, Dumbledore growled, his grandfatherly facade falling to reveal his impatience. He then exited again. Moody shook his head sadly. I'm sorry, kid. Really, I am. He pulled out the other means from the bag. Most of the things had sharp points that didn't look good. An hour later, Angel was running low on energy. His magical reserves were low from healing himself, and he could feel himself slipping away. His eyes were glazed, and he was mouthing something. Moody didn't know what it was. Well, he didn't know until Angel pulled his hands away from the chair, swinging them in a deadly arc towards his face. The old Auror leapt to the side just in time. Angel staggered to his feet, weak from blood loss. His once white skin was blotched red. Blood was caked in his hair and on his face. He was a wreck. He grinned sadistically and threw a curse at Moody using wandless magic. When Angel's mind slipped away for that while, he was accessing his core magic, renewing his wandless abilities and turning off his healing to save power. After Angel finished Moody off with a stunner, he slumped to the floor, too exhausted to move. He was wondering why Dumbledore and the Potters hadn't barged in yet. Little did he know that they were otherwise preoccupied. The cavalry had arrived. The door flew open with a burst of magic, and in ran Luna, his angel. He actually thought he had died when he saw her, with the angelic face, blonde hair, and blue eyes. But, of course you don't feel pain when you die, do you? Angel, Luna cried, falling to her knees next to her soulmate. Luna? Angel croaked. He hadn't realized his throat was that dry until he tried to use it. Don't worry, love. You're safe now, Luna said, tears forming in the corner of her eyes. Angel smiled and let the blackness overtake him. I was thinking about doing a more graphic interrogation for this chapter, but I just didn't have the time to put it together properly, sorry. I may try to get it into the next chapter in a flashback or dream, so if you have any suggestions, I'm all ears. For the record, Angel was meditating when he supposedly slipped off in a haze like I often do during math class, and he was able to tell his healing power to stop, so he had energy to fight wandlessly, which takes a lot of control and power. When he found he had enough magic to preform a wandless spell, he struck. He scraped the bottom of his reserves, you might say. So if you were wondering, there is a clearer explanation or that whole thing. So I now leave you at a semi-cliffy, so bye-bye. Please don't forget to review. Hey, guess what? I'm still alive. I've just been so busy with softball every day, and then there was the writer's block. Damn whoever invented writer's block. Well, thanks to the people who have been nagging at me about this story, I finally got me head out of my ass and finished the final chapter. Thanks for all your support throughout this whole fiasco. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to update my story, The Angel of Heaven and Hell, any day now. So since this story is done, you could always nag me about my next one. Anyways, hugs, guys, hugs. You people are the best. Thanks for the encouragement. I don't own anything. And here's the story. The first thing Angel awoke to was warmth. It was warm. He snuggled deeper into the heat source, only to find it soft. Then it hit him, where he was, what had happened. His eyes shot open, though they felt like a ton of bricks were sitting on each lid. He laid there for a few seconds. He wasn't in any danger. He was in a room, on a bed, a warm bed. A hand began rubbing his tense back softly. "Calm down, love. You're safe now." A sweet and mellow voice cooed. Angel relaxed into Luna's warm embrace again. That was when he realized something. He was covered with a wing, a white feathered wing. Luna's wing. Luna had gone through her transformation alone. "How long have I been out for?" Angel questioned, dreading the answer. "Almost a week and a half." Luna sighed. "We weren't sure you'd ever wake up, with all the damage your body and magic received." "I missed your birthday, your magical changes, you getting your wings, didn't I?" Angel asked. Luna sighed again in return. "It's all right. Remus and Sirius helped me like they helped you. Though I wanted you there. I knew it was impossible. All I wanted was for you to get better. I love you." Luna tightened her hold on Angel's torso. "I love you too, Luna," Harry said, cuddling deeper into the warmth Luna's wing cocoon had created. After a few minutes, Harry decided he had to use the bathroom. So, reluctantly, he got up. As Luna stood up and stretched, Harry noted her changes. Her long blonde hair got whiter. It shone almost magically with radiant light, and her large blue eyes had gotten deeper, more profound, and older. Her already pale skin was glowing a ghostly white. The biggest thing was her wings, two glorious snowy white feathered appendages sticking out of her middle back. She was beautiful. Harry pulled his eyes away from his highly beautiful and nude soulmate and stiffly made his way to the bathroom. After relieving himself, he went back and lay down on the bed, closing his eyes with a sigh of content. He soon felt soft and careful hands peeling away the large bandage that covered a lot of his chest. He didn't even realize it was there. He had no idea when he had received a wound that size, of course. He was in a lot of pain the other day, so one more wound wouldn't have mattered much anyways. Luna nearly laughed as she watched the large wound on her lover's chest slowly begin to fade, the skin knitting itself back together. It must have been his awakening that triggered it. He had enough power stored up after all of his rest to fix himself. "What happened while I was out?" Angel asked, soaking up every contact his soul mate made with his skin while checking his bandages. "Well, Remus and Sirius threw a fit over the whole kidnapping and torture thing. Dumbledore might be fired from his post as headmaster and is facing criminal charges, as well as the Potters and Moody, plus every other bird followers we caught. Then there is the fact that the battle over Hogwarts started late last night." Angel's eyes shot open again, and he shot up to a sitting position, muscles protesting this movement. "What?" He pulled away from Luna and held up his hand, summoning his battle robes. "Angel, no. You're still too weak. You are in no condition to." Luna was cut off by Angel holding up his hand. "Luna, I need to do this. This is it. The final battle. The prophecy had finally come to be fulfilled. I must kill Voldemort or die trying." Angel grabbed his battle robes out of the air and pulled them on. They were different and the same now, white robes with a black rose on the back still. But a red rose had crossed it. A red rose with white thorns. A red rose symbolizing his love for Luna. He smiled grimly as he pulled on a pair of black pants and the robes, no shirt. His sword hung by his side, his wand ready. This was it. Kill or be killed. "I love you, Luna. I love you with every fiber of my being," Angel said quietly, seeing the tears running down Luna's face. He pulled her close and kissed her passionately, loving the feeling of her heart beating against his. The kiss seemed to last an eternity, but in reality only a few seconds. With one final loving look, Angel spread his wings and disappeared. Within seconds, Luna made up her mind of what she had to do. She had to help her Angel. She quickly summoned the robes Angel had gotten Luna, which she could only wear when she got her wings. They were a silvery blue, a picture of a dove, and a sword on the back. She threw on a pair of white pants and a white shirt, and then shrugged into the robe, summoning her sword and wand holster. She was ready with no regrets. She spread her wings and disappeared as Angel had just done minutes before. Angel appeared on the roof of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. A light snow was falling on the battle that raged below. Black robes easily outnumbered the other colored robes of the Order, the Aurors, the teachers, the 6th and 7th year students, and his family. Aiden and the rest of his family were making a considerable dent, but Angel could see they needed help. With a new purpose, to save his family and fulfill his destiny, he jumped off the roof. His spread wings slowed his descent slightly, but not much. Angel could feel the power coursing through his veins. The power he knows not was finally coming into play. Score 1 for the light side. He had aimed to fall into a mass of death munchkins where Freya was being overwhelmed. He hit the target straight on. He landed hard, the stone cracking under the force of his impact. The perfect landing, one would say, in a crouch, one fist on the ground, a crack forming from its impact itself. He was a really scary sight, shining white robes, glowing green eyes seeming to have flames of power growing inside of them, great black wings stretched out wide. He looked every bit like one of Hell's dark angels. The Death Eaters looked to each other, and then back to Angel. Freya took advantage of their distraction and took out a few of their numbers. It was some unspoken decision as the Death Eaters all attacked in unison. Angel grinned maliciously and held out his hand for the 10 Deathfuckers falling dead under on concentrated blast. The remains of the Munchkins weren't much to look at, just some ashes and such. Soon the others, who were supremely scared, fell to Angel and Freya's swords. Angel and his surrogate sister shared one look. She grinned widely and held up her sword in a sort of cheers way. Angel grinned back, holding up his sword, and they fought on. It seems Angel's arrival had given Freya a second wind because she was decapitation, maiming, delimbing, and impaling with new vigor. Angel, though, was moving at an impossible speed. Superhuman, you may call it, covering the ground in a new drenching of blood, though his robes somehow managed to stay completely unblemished. As he reached the middle of the battle, it suddenly got deathly quiet. Right in front of him, in a cleared spot where it seems the Great Hall once stood, amongst the rubble stood Dumbledore and Voldemort. They stood there unmoving, staring each other down like they did in those old Western movies. "Give it up, old fool. You have no chance," Valdai taunted. "Your precious golden boy isn't really the savior. You messed up, old man. You let your only chance in this war die." Dumbledore's shoulders slumped slightly. Angel could see exhaustion written across his wrinkled face. That was when Voldemort attacked and Angel took flight. Voldemort basted Dumbledore back a good 50 feet, where he landed in a heap. Angel saw all this from the air. All the Death Munchkins were cheering. The old man wasn't getting up. Angel landed quietly behind a section of the crowd, retracted his wings, and waited for the perfect moment to have his dramatic entrance. After a few minutes of moldy warts mocking the older man, he pushed his way through the crowd and stepped in front of the elderly headmaster. "Who are you?" Voldemort sneered, pissed off that someone had enough guts to stand in the way of his ultimate prize. "I, Tom Riddle, am someone who has been hunting your pathetic hide for years," Angel said with a smirk. "You know, in person, you're not really all that you're cracked up to be." After a second of complete silence, he finally said, "Just call me Angel." Voldemort growled and then launched his attack. Meanwhile, Luna, who had arrived only a few minutes ago after getting rather lost in the Swiss Alps, had swooped out of the sky and saved the aged professor from imminent death when a Death Eater had stood over him ready to kill him. Now she really looked like an angel, with her blonde hair and white wings. When Dumbledore looked into Luna's face and weakly said, "Ms. Lovegood," he almost passed out from shock. "Yes, Headmaster," Luna said quietly as she softly landed on the roof of Hogwarts and deposited the man. "What are you?" he asked, curiosity taking over. "An angel," she simply answered, took off again to help her mate. The person called Angel was now putting up the best fight anyone had ever seen, staying hit for hit and spell for spell with the Dark Lord. "Expelliarmus!" shouted Angel. Voldemort returned. "Reducto." "Stupefy." "Crucio." Angel barely dodged Voldy's curse. "Serpent Sorcia." Angel yelled. Voldemort laughed, but soon stopped when Angel began speaking the colossal black snake. "You are a speaker?" Valdai questioned. "Not so light anymore, are we?" It was soon a battle of wills with Voldemort and Angel edging the snake to attack his opponent. Finally, Voldy blew up the snake's head with a reducto curse. "Who are you?" he demanded angrily. "Angel," the teen shot back cheekily. "No, you're not," Voldy yelled again. "Yes, I am." "No." "Yes." "No." "Yes." "No." "I knew it," Voldemort yelled, triumphant. All this time, the two had been sending curse after curse at each other. "Fuck you," Angel yelled. "Avada Kedavra! Die, you snake-faced bastard!" Voldemort dove out of the way of the killing curse, nimbly rolling to his feet. That was when Angel charged. Voldemort somehow grabbed onto the teen's arm, swinging him through the air and letting go, sending him sliding across the floor face first, and finally coming to a violent bone-crunching stop at the wall, which he met with his left arm. Angel's wand was totaled. Little pieces of wood were jammed deeply into his palm and arm. Angel laid there for a second, taking inventory of his injuries. Left arm dislocated at the best, deep gash on his face, numerous splinters in his right hand. He had no wand. Voldemort's laughter rose up to maniacal levels, thinking he had killed his opponent. Little did he know that he was dead wrong. He had instilled the teen with a new urge to fight. Angel jumped to his feet and began stalking angrily across the battle zone. An aura of cold fire seemed to seep from him. His eyes burned with deadly delight. Voldemort turned to face him after hearing the collective gasp and a few cheers, only to see the pesky teen roll to his feet, which shouldn't be possible with all the damage his body had received. Just when things couldn't get any stranger, he noticed the blood on his cheek being drawn slowly back into the cut. The wound was closing up. "What are you?" Voldemort said quietly, more to himself than to the boy, as the oh-so-powerful and wonderful and unbeatable Dark Lord recoiled in fear. The boy simply shook his head and laughed coldly. "If I told you, it'd take all the fun out of it." That was when Strange turned into a heart attack range of strangeness, as large black wings suddenly shot out of the boy's back, and the teenager launched himself at the Dark Lord. This all took place in a split second, but next thing everyone knew, the angelic savior was throwing balls of pure lightning energy at Voldemort. That was when Voldemort's eyes widened in recognition. Lightning Raiden Aiden's son Harry Potter, the brother of the boy who lived. Of course, this was all speculation, so he had to check before he jumped to any conclusions. The boy didn't look a thing like any of the Potters. "Potter, I know it's you," Voldemort screamed as he ducked away from another blast of lightning. So far, he had been hit 3 times. There were whispers. "Tyler Potter, it can't be. It must be. He's the boy who lived." The jig was up. Angel had to confess. "So?" The Dark Lord was stunned. He was right. This really was Harry Potter. That must mean he was the boy who lived, not Tyler Potter. "You're the one the prophecy's about, aren't you? Harry James Potter?" Voldy yelled, clearly enraged. "I've been chasing the wrong Potter brat. Damn it." There was an uproar from the crowds watching the one-on-one battle. The all-powerful Dark Lord against some puny teenage boy who really is the twice-thought-dead Harry Potter. This was turning out more and more like a soap opera every second. All the crowds needed were bags of popcorn and comfy couches. Unfortunately, they all were preoccupied keeping up shields to ward off-course curses or those evil little balls of energy. While all of this was going on, Luna was standing in the crowd, face pale and drawn. She had been ready to run to Angel when he had went down, but Freya had stopped her. Luna knew she couldn't interfere with history in the making. The prophecy had to be fulfilled. Angel, or should we say Harry, struck again, this time throwing some strange white light from his palms. The force pushed the boy backward slightly, and it hit the still surprised Voldemort dead on. The oh-so-feared Dark Lord was surrounded in the light, it growing ever so brighter as the seconds ticked by. You could hear Tom Riddle's pained cries and screams, begging for mercy as the white light tore the flesh from his bones, ripped his teeth out with amazing force, and sucked his eyes cruelly out of his head. Finally, all that was left of Voldemort was a small pile of dust from his ground-down bones, which was quickly swept away by some mystical warm wind. Angel staggered, the spell taking almost all of his energy reserves, but there was one more thing he had to do. With as much power he could muster, he lifted his hands, yelled out something in a strange, long-lost language. The language of the angelic. As if by magic, which it was, a dark shadow formed which had thus then been invisible. With the last of his reserves, Angel enclosed the helpless soul of Lord Voldemort, once the young, handsome boy named Tom Riddle, and banished it to somewhere where no one would ever find it again, and where it would never free itself. A blank dimension, the Everwalls, sky, and ground white. It was enough to drive any man crazy. Angel collapsed in a heap, unable to stand any longer, his energy completely gone. The light had won. Everyone was rejoicing. Angel smiled dimly as he heard people shouting his name, Harry James Potter. Not Tyler Potter, Harry Potter. And with that, we end our epic story of Harry James Potter, the real boy who lived. Love it? Hate it? This is it. I might write a follow-up. I might not. I'm not sure yet. It depends on my schedule. Anyways, thanks for the reviews. You guys rock. I hope to hear from you some more for this final chapter and my other story, The Angel of Heaven and Hell. If you like this story, the Aoha is a lot like it because I have this thing for guys with wings. Haha. I love you guys. Don't forget to drop me a review. Epilogue. Daddy, tell us a story. A little girl demanded, her big blue eyes wide and innocent. She pouted a bit to emphasize her command. She flung her long blonde hair over her shoulder in irritation and climbed onto the couch next to her father, folding her little white wings behind her. He smiled kindly at her, his green eyes twinkling with love as he gazed at his daughter. Yeah, please, Daddy, another little voice begged. Angel looked away from his daughter to his other daughter. She climbed up onto the couch, folding her white wings behind her as well and snuggling into her father's side. A good story. Yeah, the little girl on Angel's right chimed in. One with princesses and unicorns. No, the other little girl interjected from Angel's left side. One with dragons and elves. Ho! Whined the little girl on the right, flinging a nasty look at her identical sister. Angel sighed as the two broke down into an argument. He didn't even attempt to intervene. He glanced around his surroundings, smiling as he looked out the window of their living room and only seeing sky. The house he and Luna had bought and began raising a family in, far away from the wizarding world of England. They had ironically bought a large amount of land in the mountains in America. The pinpointed location will always remain anonymous. They had actually built the house into the side of the mountain. It was beautiful, a waterfall cut over top of a part of the moderate-sized house. When you looked out the window in some of the rooms, all you saw was gushing water. The warmth of love and safety seemed to radiate from the home. It was their little nest, hidden high up in the mountains, away from the rest of the world, accessible only by those with the gift of flight, or those who were brought to the home by those who could enter the household. Come on, guys, another little voice chimed in. Yet another little girl climbed onto Angel's lap. I agree with Charity, Angel laughed. How about she picks it? Okay. Both Faith and Hope agreed. Being identical triplets might have made them look almost exactly alike, but their personalities varied as much as the elements. All three little girls had Luna's thick, straight white blonde hair, pale, flawless skin, and huge, innocent blue eyes. All three of them sported identical sets of little white wings, strong enough to keep up with their parents when they took trips to go visit Uncle Patty and Uncle Mooney, who lived a few hours away. They refused to be called Pappy or Grandpa because they still thought they were too young to retain such titles. Harry Potter officially died the day that Voldemort died. He died for the last and final time, hopefully. Angel had never really recovered from the final battle, suffering from numerous nightmares and some other physical problems. He had overtaxed his magic too much in a short period of time. His injuries hadn't healed right, and they never would. He walked with a rather noticeable limp. He used a cane of the bad days. His arm still ached, and many scars still littered his body from the brutal beating he had received on that fateful day. It had been enough to kill a normal wizard, a human, but not an angel. How about one about elven princesses who kill dragons? Charity giggled. And handsome princes. They can ride off into the sunset on the back of a unicorn. The other two girls quickly agreed, snuggling in closer to their father. Angel had never believed he would have a family. He had never believed he would fall in love either, so I guess miracles can happen. He loved his family, all of them, even his extended family, as if they were actually blood. His children referred to Gavin as Pappy and Carla as Grammy. Kaylee as Annie Kay, Jenna as Aunt Jen, Glenn as Uncle Glenn, Ian as Uncle Ian, Mariah as Annie Ma, Noah as Uncle Noah, and Tonks and Annie Tonky. Jenna had married Noah at the age of 23. Their two children, Chloe, who was 7, and Riley, who was 5, were born soon after. Jenna was 25 when Chloe was born. All of the family was present at both of her children's births. Glenn had gone on to marry a Muggle-born, which named Paige Ashford, who he met when traveling in France on a mission. As he told it was love at first sight. As she said it was love at first quip. The two held the most hilarious conversational banter anyone had ever heard before. They were a match made in heaven. Paige was currently pregnant with their first child. Ian married a Muggle woman, Adriana Moore, whose temper matched her hair. Their young daughter, named Jessica, was already showing signs of magic at the age of 3. Kaylee had married a Ravenclaw boy named Terry Boot the past year, after they met at a Weird Sisters concert in London. Terry had recognized Kaylee from school, and soon the couple was wed. Angel had made sure Terry's intentions towards his sister were nothing but pure. He was pleased to find that the two had developed a bond a lot like he and Luna had. They were completely and madly in love with each other. Mariah dated a few men, but never found one who could put up with her frosty personality until she met Victor Crumb, whose mood swings and lack of social mannerisms matched her own to a freakish degree. They are married in 5 months in January. Outside, in the snow. Figure that. Angel sighed contentedly, pulling himself out of his reverie. Once there were 3 beautiful elven princesses who lived in a castle high in the mountains. Angel paused in his story about the princesses to find that his 3 little angel princesses had fallen asleep, each with a small smile on their faces as they dreamed of elven princesses, unicorns, dragons, heroes, villains, handsome princes, and happily ever afters. Kind of like Angel, he and his happily ever after. At that moment, light footsteps echoed down the hall as Luna padded almost silently over the thick carpeting in her socks, holding their 3-month-old son, Logan. His striking green eyes peered out at the world, brimming with intelligence and power. As faith, hope, and charity looked like their mother, Logan took after his father in every aspect, including his tiny, still budding, black-green tinged wings. He bubbled happily as his mother held him safely in her arms. She smiled at the sight of her 3 daughters, using her husband as a pillow. I guess suggesting our 3 big girls might be ready for a nap may be coming a bit too late, she whispered with an almost silent laugh. Angel nodded. They look so young when they sleep, he noted softly. Luna nodded as well. They're quiet too, she commented with a grin. Angel repressed a laugh in case it would wake his 3 daughters. How's Logan Dong? Sleepy. Luna said more to Logan than to Angel. She was a great mother. She rocked her youngest child gently in her arms, humming softly. My little Angel is sleepy, isn't he? Angel grinned. You mean me? I'm ready to catch a few Z's with the Munchkins as well. He motioned to the 3 sleeping forms around him. Luna smiled knowingly. All my angels, even the big-headed, macho ones with the ego that can't be contained, she chided. Why, sweet, you wound me, he joked with a yawn. That nap sounds better and better. He admitted. It's not like I'm going anywhere for a while anyways. Luna shook her head. I'm going to go put him down for his nap. Do try and get some rest. Angel nodded happily, closing his eyes and feeling 3 tiny heartbeats pounding against him. He could hear the soft thuds of their hearts in the silence. He had never expected to be so lucky as to have a family like he had. He had never imagined falling in love with the woman he knew he was destined to save the world with. He never imagined that his one solitary black rose would have so many red ones to join it in its bouquet. He never dreamed that he could ever feel as loved as he did now. All stories come to an end, but heroes never die. They just fade away. Harry Potter died, but Angel faded. He faded out of history and into the life he had always longed to live. One where he was loved and where he could freely love. One where he never felt alone and had a meaning to life rather than a vendetta. So ends the story of the Black Rose. All's well that ends well. Heroes always win in the end, and rights are always wronged. Life continues and we abide, for we know that someday we too will find our meaning for life, because at this very moment, we are writing our own story. A story that will span from the moment of our births to the moment of our deaths. There are many blank pages ahead of us, and we must fill them up with actions, emotions, and memories. Fill them with hope, love, and kindness. Have faith in yourself, and someday, as all heroes do, you will vanquish evil and save the day. Angels fly upon wings so soft, silently into the night, brandishing their swords of strength and light with every ounce of might. They fight the good fight, love triumphs, over evil darkness falls to light. And in the end, the heroes always win to fight another fight. Love to live, live to love. So ends the story of an angel and his gifts from above. For every moment spent from now on, he will spend with those he loves the end.